her toddler, who made noise and cried throughout the entire funeral.
Oh, that's bad.
Clueless. You know what I mean? Like, people just don't get it. I don't know how they don't get it.
You know, Vera, I'm so glad you called about people taking babies to funerals or church services, because what I don't understand is when they start crying.
Church services? You can't take a kid?
Yes, you can. But when they start crying and they're screeching,
you walk away.
People don't. Often people don't. They just keep the kid. As you're mentioning, Vera, the child crying, and Mom, I assume, did not take them out of the area where the service was happening. Did she?
Oh, no. And she was sitting in the rear of the church. I don't get it. But
yeah.
Meaning well, but really was very disturbing to everybody else.
Yeah.
Vera, we're really sorry about your son, but we're really glad you called. Thank you for sharing your story with us. 877-301-8970. We were told that we're having technical problems with youtube.com/GBH News. So do facebook.com, Jamie. Hello? Yes? No, whatever. It's back.
Oh, YouTube is back.
It's back.
Yeah, because we got a couple of texts.
We did?
Yes, saying the same thing.
Okay, 877-301-8970. We're talking about what apparently, according to the Wall Street Journal, is a trend where, well, the headline is actually pretty good. Babies are now roaming bars, clubs, and tattoo parlors. And there seems to be a consensus, not that it's a scientific poll, of the two of us and callers and texters, this is not a particularly good idea.
Yeah, a lot of people are taking their kids to these very expensive restaurants. And again, I know they say that babysitting prices, wow, listen to this, $16.25 to $23 an hour in some places. Imagine paying $23 an hour.
And also this notion you mentioned before that if you can afford to go to a good restaurant, you can afford baby. That's not true. There are a lot of people I know who are working class people who save up and decide, twice a year, I'm going to go to a really expensive restaurant in town. And so adding the childcare cost to that is like a lot of money. I mean, that's their argument, but I guess my argument is then you got to give up on the Michelin thing.
If you saved up all year to go to a fancy restaurant, why do you want to have to worry about your kid disrupting you and disrupting everybody else?
Well, the other thing...
you have to keep your kid occupied.
No, you don't. You have co-check. I mean, that's... you have to think creatively. And you hang them up in a little onesie in the little hooks with a co-check person.
Velcro. Just stick them to the wall,
Wasn't
Jim.
there some teacher that
Velcroed
the kids?
Yeah, they got in trouble. They were Velcroing the kids to the wall.
And we got in trouble, I think, because we laughed about it. I think it was you who was laughing about it. Marjorie, we got to take a break.
Okay, we got to take a break.
I said that, yes.
You listen to 89.7 GBH, Boston Public Radio. We're broadcasting live from the Boston Public Library, and we were back on the formerly not working YouTube. It is now working. YouTube.com/GBH News and Facebook.com/GBH News.
I'm Carol Hills. Rappers in Myanmar have a voice, and they're taking aim at the military junta that runs the country.
Myanmar young people are really, really angry and sad at the same time. It's a very complex feeling.
But the consequences of speaking out can be severe. That's next time on The World.
This afternoon at 3, here on GBH News 89.7.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you. And Chilton Furniture, partnering with local makers to offer a modern take on traditional New England wood furniture. With showrooms in Portland, Freeport, and Scarborough, Maine. More at chiltons.com. And Feast and Fettle, a meal delivery service committed to providing fresh home-cooked meals to Greater Boston. All orders are locally prepared and hand-delivered. Plan options and menus at feastandfettle.com.
Welcome back to Boston Public Radio. I'm Jim Browdy. She's Marjorie, and we're live at the Boston Public Library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News, facebook.com/GBH News. At 12:30, Attorney General Andrea Campbell will join us for an hour to take your questions. If you're at the library, come to the library. You can actually go see our colleague Nicole and ask her a question directly. Right after her, Jay Farrow, SNL alum, just brilliant comedian and impressionist. Before we get back to the topic at hand, which is we're discussing the do's and don'ts of bringing your baby, your toddler, your young child out into the world, tattoo parlor, brewery, etc. What's the appropriate place to bring them, a bar, a concert, etc., etc. I want to talk about, you know who my favorite political pundit is.
Oh, Borowitz?
Me.
Oh,
I was
you.
on the show the other day, and I have to say, I've been wrong about every political prediction ever. But I want to
that's
play.
right.
I want to play a little sound that our staff dug up. Juliette Kayyem was with us the other day, and here is what I had to say about Donald Trump's press conference coming up Monday at 11 o'clock, in which he was going to go. What he said: a full, detailed, definitive report on election fraud. Here's what I said.
I want to know, what are the odds that he's going to say before this, we were going to do this large, complex, detailed, but irrefutable report at 11 o'clock on Monday, but my lawyer said we have to save it for the trial, so we can't do it.
2 weeks.
Right, 2 weeks.
What did he say last night?
He's not doing it.
Why? His lawyers say he has to save it for the trial. What?
I think he's not doing it because with all these people indicted with him and nobody's getting help in their legal fees, Giuliani's broke, Eastman's broke. I think Giuliani's got 7 figures legal fees.
He's got a lot of problems.
That who's going to come stand by him now?
You think that's why he's not doing it? You know why he's not doing it?
He can't get someone to lie with him.
Because there wasn't any fraud.
Well, there wasn't any fraud, but he's got to get someone who's going to lie to him, and then they're going to be in the same boat as all the rest of these people standing up for this guy.
And I'm going to ask you the question I ask every day. When one of his sycophantic followers, who doesn't care about democracy hanging by a thread, hears that their hero was going to come out fighting on Monday and prove there was election fraud, and all of a sudden he meekly walks off, is even one of them going to question whether or not he's full of it?
Well, I mean, as we've said a million times, he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and people would stick with him, and he's probably right about that.
877-301-8970 is our number.
I think we have a 50-50 divide here on the texters.
Oh.
Well, here's Lori from Rhode Island. Nope, nope, nope. Kids should not be brought to concerts, especially babies. Not fair to the people around you. But right above her is, as far as concerts are concerned, I'm thrilled being able to share my love of music with my own children. I love seeing other kids enjoying concerts. Nothing better than watching a little one dancing and feeling the joy of music in community.
Well, you know, you read more of that text. Did you read the rest of the text? She also brings her pit bull to the concerts. You know, by the way, you every day, almost every day, what do you show me when we start our communication?
Pictures of my granddaughter dancing.
Exactly. That is an appropriate place. She's dancing at your daughter and son-in-law's apartment in Brooklyn.
She's got rhythm,
and they
too.
send you, she really does.
She really does.
And the cutest curly hair ever. So Wes in Boston, you're next on Boston Public Radio. Thank you for the call. Hi.
Hi. So I wanted to weigh in because I used to go to a tattoo parlor where one of the tattoo artists brought his 5-6-year-old son to the parlor while he was working. And he was very cute and very well behaved. And yeah, it was great. I had no problems with it.
Wes, did the kid have any tattoos?
The kid did not have any tattoos.
That's good. That's good.
Well, I have another question, Wes. When the tattoo artist was doing your right cheek, was it a problem having the kid there, or no?
No
Nervous
problem
laughter.
at all. No problem at all.
Okay, I mean, but by the way, bringing your kid to work, that I'm a little more sympathetic to, are you not? I mean,
I think a lot of people have to do that.
I know that, so I'm okay with that.
The child care is closed,
right,
the babysitter
exactly.
had to go home, or the babysitter called in sick or something like that, yeah.
So Wes, how would you have felt if the person sitting next to you who was also getting a tattoo had brought his infant, or his or her, or their child, or whatever? How would you feel about that?
You know, if it was the first time and the child was scared by all the buzzing and noises and was crying, that would probably be not fun. But, if the kid's used to it, if I got lucky and it's like the 4th or 5th time, then I'm chilling.
You're a decent guy, Wes. You're a tolerant soul. Thank you very much for the call. And an anonymous texter says, regular listener near here, can't believe Jim is claiming to eat in restaurants and not at the hot bar at Whole Foods. You can do both, my friend.
You can.
I do both. Thank you for that.
I mean, a lot of people are saying it depends, obviously, on the kid too. One texter says a lot of kids are super chill and go anywhere. Others shouldn't leave the house unleashed. Parents need to use their judgment. Well, you ever see the people with the leashes?
What?
They had their kid in a harness and a leash. But you can see when you see the kid for more than 30 seconds why they need a harness and a leash.
I'll give you an example.
Is running around everywhere.
There is allegedly a roughly 2-year-old who is the child of one of our coworkers, who I'm told is relatively well behaved, who, at least based on our experience, quite regularly drops F-bombs at 2 years old.
That's right.
Jamie, would that be correct? He's 4, sorry, whatever he is.
Okay.
How about that? He didn't start the F-bombs till he was 2. I got it wrong, but he's 4 now. He's doing great. In any case, 877-301-8970. The more I think about this, by the way, I hadn't thought about it enough before we started, it's really a bad idea. If it's it's an emergency, you have no choice. As you said a minute ago, whether the worker I'm fine with, but the customer, if it turns out your child care person didn't show up or whatever it is, then in a limited circumstance, of course, it's fine. But as a regular thing, no, it's just not. No, I don't.
Amelia from Arlington, thank you for calling.
Hello, Amelia.
Oh, hey, hi. I just wanted to say, it's like repeating back in my ear.
No, we're good on this end.
You can hear? Okay.
Yeah, it's fine. Thank you.
When my kid was a baby, we would all meet up at the beer garden because it was the one place that could fit all the strollers. We could have the baby strapped in. They could crawl around. We could have our beers. And we didn't care about the judgment. And sometimes the parents have to get out, too. So I just wanted to...
When you say beer garden, Amelia, you're talking about the kind of place Marjorie was describing, like the picnic table outside kind of thing?
This was indoors, so there was a lot of room. Definitely has to be a big place. I mean, we're going to be considerate about it, but it's hard, those first couple of years.
I know.
Yeah, you're going stir crazy, too, especially during the pandemic when you weren't supposed to get out that much.
What'd you do when your kids started screaming, Amelia?
Take them out.
Your kid?
But also yeah. Outside.
Oh, take him out. Oh, take him out. I thought you said kick him out.
Yeah.
I didn't.
No.
Fine. Okay, take him out. That's fine.
That's. That was big enough. They made room for us. We had an arrangement. So.
Okay. That sounds reasonable.
That's a good
Amelia,
point.
thanks.
Amelia took her kid outside. Now, this is from Jack, who says, a lot of people in public are just as annoying as their kids. And this person thinks it's mostly a difference of a good parent that understands when their kids are bothering other people and does something about it.
Yeah, but that's like saying the pit bull thing. How many times we've had that discussion? People say a pit bull's not the problem. The person who brought up it. But unfortunately, you don't know when you see the owner of the pit bull whether they treated the pit bull well. Same with the parent. Would you not agree?
Yes.
You don't know what you're going to get.
You don't know what you're going to get. But I think the problem is the parent, not the kids, right? If the
So
kids,
we let the kid in and leave the parent at home? What do you mean?
Well, no, you can't do that, Jim. But you don't want to blame the kid because their parents. The parents, if the kid is misbehaving, are supposed to do something about it. That's the problem when the kids are misbehaving, and they don't do anything about it.
I'm sorry, you have to leave. I'm speaking to somebody. Can you really just get out of it? No,
oh my goodness!
I was joking.
Look at this little.
What's that?
Yeah.
The mother just said she's misbehaving, but the baby is okay.
Yeah. Now,
well, that is. I mean, if that kid came, where do you take that kid? Can you yell this out? Where do you take the kid? Besides here, besides. Everywhere. Well, there you go. It's a little hard to attack somebody when they're standing right in front of you, It's a lot more difficult proposition when you... Thank you for coming, by the way.
I think there's one place nobody likes
to
be next to a kid is on an airplane.
Yeah, that is brutal.
That is the place nobody wants to be next to a kid.
Brutal.
Katie in the car, thank you for calling.
But by the way, before you go ahead, Katie, there is a solution to that, which we've discussed before, which is, I don't mean this as a joke, kid flights, meaning if you're a family flying with kids, then there's a separate plane, and the other plane is adults only.
Well, that's what people talk, especially going to Orlando or Florida in the summertime, right? To have a special kid flight where it's all full of families on their way to Disney World.
Can I tell you something?
What?
I'd rather be waterboarded than go back to Orlando again. Have you ever been there with your kids? I forget.
Yeah. It's
the worst place on earth, other than Las Vegas. It is the single worst place on the planet.
Yeah, the lines are extremely long. It's very expensive, but the kids do love it.
Yeah.
Kids do love it.
Okay, fine.
Katie in the car, thank you for calling.
Hi, Katie.
Hi. So I have a kiddo who's on the spectrum, and it's sometimes very hard to find childcare, both for them, but also to find somebody that they're comfortable with. And so in order to go out, sometimes my wife and I choose to bring them. And I think that it is a lot about how you set your kid up for success when you bring them out into the world. Like, do you bring some crayons and coloring books and engage them so that they're not screaming? Do you take them outside if they're having a hard time? We tend to get boxes right away if we go to a restaurant because that way you just stick the food in the box and you say, we tried, it didn't work, we're going home now.
But, Katie, one of the things, I am totally sympathetic to your life and what you're doing. And finally, a lot of venues are sympathetic. We talked to Keith Lockhart maybe 2 years ago. You probably know about this. When they started doing in a series, a couple of days, their concerts and the arrangement of Symphony Hall would be reconstructed in such a way so that kids on the spectrum would feel more comfortable and everything worked fine. And there is more of that in the world, is there not, Katie, or am I exaggerating the good?
No, there is some, but also you do, like, so when I think about it, but I am an early childhood educator and a nanny. So when I think about it, these are tiny people. And if we do want them to understand the rules of the world and how it works, we do have to expose them to being out in the world and teach them how to sit through a meal and teach them how to learn how to be people someday. And unfortunately, a lot of these kiddos are not getting those things in school because we have decided to shift the developmental skills to much earlier, and so they're not learning through play. When we were little, we had like a house station, and you sat at the table with your friends, and you played house, and you played dinner. They don't do that. So it's like this change in social dynamic too that we all have to like wrap our brains around a little bit, I think. And then the other thing I was going to mention is that you guys, the article, and you all were talking about the cost of childcare. As someone who has been a nanny now for 20 years, I make $30 an hour, which sounds like a lot when you're going out to dinner with your kid. But that isn't even a living wage in Massachusetts.
Well, you have no benefits. That was an excellent call, by the way, and the best argument for the opposite side from where Marjorie and I are. That was terrific, Katie. Thank you for the call. Appreciate it.
I've seen just out and about a lot of kids, autistic kids, with headsets and iPads. Because the headsets take away the loud noises and distractions that can be very upsetting to kids on the spectrum, and the iPad keeps kids.
But Keith also told us the orchestra plays a little bit differently too.
Oh yeah.
And the lights
they're
are
more
different.
aware. They're more aware
of it. Really is long overdue. And it's actually quite wonderful. And Keith was not. While they were one of the early ones at Symphony Hall, they weren't So Chris, watching on YouTube, says the problem is not really little kids. He says he or she, I'm not sure. My worst dining experience was being seated next to a large table of MAGA supporters. That is probably even tougher.
Jill in Fall River, thanks for calling.
Hey Jill, what's up? Jill, you called us.
You there, Jill?
Hi, Jill.
No, I guess we lost.
I want to hear that she also had a good one too.
Guess
I'm sorry
we lost
about
her.
that, Jill.
Okay, let's squeeze in Marie from Shrewsbury. Hi, Marie.
Hey, Marie.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
So I love kids. I raised 3 of them. They're in their 30s.
However,
we never took them out to restaurants.
Good.
We had candlelight dinners at home. We taught manners. We ate dinner together. We raised them up. So now they love dining out. We have a blast dining out. I cannot stand kids in restaurants. I love kids, but they don't enjoy that. And
that's another great point.
Marjorie, when you're saying the kids come home and they're millennials and they come home and it's the mom thing, my husband and I just took our 3 kids and their partners on vacation. And before we went, I wrote a long letter about my expectations. And I didn't do one dish. I didn't cook one meal.
God.
I had my gin and tonic served to me on the porch. So,
Marie, you do me a favor. Send me the letter. I can use it for my own purposes.
Hey, Marie, that was great.
In the future. That's great.
Marie,
Good
thanks
for you.
for the call. We appreciate it.
Good for you. She's a non-guilty mom. I like that.
I like that too.
Okay, that's all the time we have for this, but thank you very much for the calls and the texts, and sorry I couldn't get to all of them. But coming up, it is Live Music Friday. We've got a very innovative fusion of jazz and chamber music. Closes off another successful summer for the Mission Hill Arts Festival. Pianist and composer Kevin Harris and the players from the chamber group Windsor Music join us next. Do not go away. You're listening to Boston Public Radio, 89.7 GBH. We are broadcasting live from the Boston Public Library and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News and facebook.com/GBH News.
Welcome back to Boston Public Radio. Jim Browdy and Marge Regan. We're live at the Boston Public Library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News, facebook.com/GBH News. Andrea Campbell, the Attorney General, is here at 12:30 to 1:30 for Ask the AG, taking your calls, questions, etc. Jay Farrow, SNL alum extraordinaire, is with us at 1:30. We have two guests who seem quite calm and happy, I should say, which is a wonderful introduction. That's one of them, acknowledging that. It's time for now Live Music Friday on BPR. At the interview desk, we're joined by someone we've hosted on the show before, pianist, composer, Berkeley professor Kevin Harris. Kevin, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for being here.
Great to see you guys, too.
Also here, someone who's performed on Live Music Friday, but I think for the first time is being interviewed, Gabriela Diaz. It's great to have you, co-artistic director for Windsor Music. Together, they're collaborating on a performance of something called Pulse. We'll hear about in a minute, melding the worlds of jazz and chamber music into something really special. We've heard a taste of it this morning. Their show, capping off the third ever Mission Hill Arts Festival, is tomorrow, August 19th. Tomorrow, 6 p.m.
Yes.
At the Yard at the Tobin Community Center. That's, of course, in Mission Hill. More info is available at mhartsfest.org. Kevin and Gabby, it's great to have you both. Thanks for being here.
Thank
Appreciate
you
it.
for having us. Yeah, thank you so much for being here. We can't wait to hear you play again. So, start with you, Kevin. What is Windsor Music? Explain to people.
So, Windsor Music, I had the opportunity now to collaborate with them. It's a wonderful group. They are educators. They are active in the community. And they also commission composers like myself. And so I have the privilege to compose this piece, Pulse, with them.
So, Gabby, what Marjorie meant to say was, so Gabby, what is Windsor Music? What is Windsor Music? Why don't you add a little to what Kevin had to say?
Well, Kevin said it beautifully.
He did?
He did, yes.
Okay.
But it's a chamber music and community engagement organization that's been around for 27 years, actually.
Explain what community engagement means, because so many people use it in such a BS kind of way, and I know you don't. Explain what community engagement means to Windsor Music.
Well, Windsor has a couple of different areas that we're very active. We have a regular performing series where we give 4 concerts a year, and this year they'll all be in Brookline. But we also, our sort of real investment in the community goes along with we have a scholarship fund for kids of color to attend summer music camps, because that's such an important part for a young person to have this sort of engagement with music and enthusiasm, being around other people who love music as a young person. And we also play in senior centers and retirement homes and have had a huge presence in hospitals around Boston.
Didn't we read that there was a patient at one hospital who scheduled her visits?
That's true.
To coincide with you?
With us
how
being
beautiful
there.
is that?
It was really meaningful. I mean, I think for us at Windsor, building community by really giving music to people who need it and maybe don't know that they need it, but for sure the playing in hospitals and being able to connect with people in this way is something that we believe really strongly in.
Well, you talked about in one of these pieces I read the healing power of music, and I think we've heard this so many times when we've talked to professional musicians. What do you mean by that, healing power?
Music, it's not a cliche to say that it's so powerful, and it's sometimes when we're going through something difficult or going through something joyful, music can help us access these emotions that are sometimes hard to talk about. And also just the fact that music is such a communicative thing. So, we're really communicating with strangers and friends and with each other, and it's such a beautiful way to really bring us together. And in cases like in the hospital playing, really hope that we're helping people deal with sort of harder times.
Well, also when the world's a mess. I mean, the first person who ever said this to us was Andres Nelson, standing right there from the BSO, explaining exactly the value of music in times that are painful for everybody. So how did this connection come about there?
So this piece that I've composed is called Pulse, and there are a few movements that we'll be playing for you guys today. The second movement, which is titled Curiosity, we're going to get around to playing that one. The first one we're going to start off with is the third movement, and it's called Equilibrium. And there's just a little story behind all of that, because I consider it very important as a composer to just kind of understand the macro and the micro, understanding what it is to be a violinist, to be a trumpet player, but also to have the perspective on how does all of that come together. My first instrument was the trumpet, and I did not play it that well. I also, as an educator, I had to learn how to play these different instruments in the ensemble. So I sat third clarinet, third, trombone and all of this. But eventually the curiosity that leads to how does all of this work together allows me to be a better composer.
Speaking of how this works together, Marjorie, I think, hinted at it when she was teasing this segment in a minute. This is sort of, I don't know if I'm using the proper terminology, sort of a fusion of jazz and classical music, which is an unusual kind of...
Yeah.
So does that make you nervous or no?
No. Oh, okay, so, and the reason why it doesn't is because I do have some classical, well, a good amount of classical training myself. But as a jazz pianist and, majority of the time when I'm performing, it's usually jazz. But also, these fantastic musicians also improvise a lot. And so writing music for them wasn't that difficult because they do both.
Classical musicians are improvising?
Yes, they do.
They do here. How do they feel about that, Gabby?
Oh, Gabby, that's all you. Tell us. That's all you. Tell us.
Are they okay with that?
We love it. The thing that it was wonderful on Kevin's part was that it's sort of like gentle improvisation for us, where like we don't have to be a skilled jazz musician to be able to do the kind of improvisation that he's asking us to do. So it has constraints and ideas for us to be able to improvise on, which makes it so that we feel really good about what we're doing.
Yeah. I read also, Gabby, where you started piano, I think at age 5, violin at age 6. Did you start really early too, Kevin? Because it seems like this is a common denominator among the musicians we talked to. They began their musical training at a very early age. How about you?
For me, I think my first experience in music was the Black gospel tradition.
In church? Yeah.
So the voice, even from a compositional perspective, and relating a little bit to what you guys were talking about earlier in the previous segment, like babies, younger kids singing out loud almost everywhere is a part of the culture. And I'm not sure if I would be here today if it wasn't for that.
So you might have been like 2 or 3 years old when you were first listening to the music in church.
Now, I started to play the piano when I was 14, so later. Like I said, there was some trumpet playing in there that I'm doing my best to forget about.
By the way, when Marjorie was 3, she was rehearsing "Welcome Back to Full River Public Radio," and she was.
Hey now.
So, you want to go play?
Yeah,
we're dying to hear you.
Let's do it.
We're really excited. We heard a little bit of rehearsal before. This is Kevin Harris and Gabriela Diaz, and we'll hear who their partners are in a couple of seconds. And this is a selection from Movement 3, Equilibrium. I got them in the right order, correct, Kevin?
Yes.
Yes? I did? Well, here they are. Kevin and Gabby please rejoin us? That was fabulous.
Well, you can certainly tell why it's called Pulse as well, with the bass player keeping that pulse all the way through that piece. That was incredible. Do you want to introduce the members of your ensemble? Do you want to do it, Gabby?
So we have David Russell on cello.
Hey.
Yay! Ronnie Moore, also co-artistic director of Windsor Music, on clarinet. Elizabeth England on oboe. And Max Ridley on bass.
Keeping the pulse.
Yes, keeping the pulse.
Okay. So tell us about this festival that's going on this weekend. What's happening?
Well, Louisa Harris, who is the artistic director, and
do you know her, by the way?
Yeah,
you do.
Yeah, we're pretty close.
Okay.
She happens to be my wife.
Yes.
She deserves the trophy, definitely. So this is the 6th successful concert of this summer. It's our 3rd annual Mission Hill Arts Festival, and she's just doing a wonderful job curating a lot of great projects.
You know what? We celebrate free things here, but I have to say I love the intentionality of the non-freeness of this thing on the part of Louisa. Can you describe what the thinking is about charging here, please, if you would?
I appreciate you asking that question. She can talk about that a lot better than I do, but on behalf of musicians, just in general, it's nice that when we perform, at least people understand that there is a value. Oftentimes when we perform, many musicians will say, well, I performed at a space yesterday and they expected us to not charge anything or charge very, very little. So I appreciate the precedent that she wants to set by saying, this is how much this art is worth in this particular. She could speak on that a lot better.
Well, I think you did it quite well. I think that's great.
I mean, the tremendous talent. And, you know, I mean, we get paid to do this. You guys are extraordinary musicians. You should get paid to do that as well, and especially when you think of how, particularly in classical and jazz, I mean, you don't see these big salaries coming in, right?
Even perhaps, it can even kind of be broken down as simple as if you have a plumber.
Exactly.
Or if you have or something like that, just kind of what the bottom range, top range is going to be. But when you go to hire a musician, like it should be the same thing, So that's
your wife would be proud, my friend. Let me tell you right now, you did it.
There you go.
How does it feel to play? I mean, this is not your typical deal here, Gab. How's it feel playing Pulse?
It's so much fun. We were so thrilled, first of all, that Kevin even agreed to write a piece for us with Windsor. Yay. And then it just turned, one of the things with commissioning pieces, which is something Windsor believes in so much, is there is a little bit of an unknown that you don't know what will happen. Usually it's awesome. But this turned out just to be such an incredible experience. And also, for us as classically trained musicians working with jazz musicians, we all are speaking a very similar language, but in slightly different ways. Mm-hmm. And it's just been so fun to work with Max and Kevin putting this piece together. Thank you.
Before you go back to play again, because we don't want to miss any part of it, we're going to give the web address again if people want to go to the Mission Hill Arts Festival tomorrow. How do they find Windsor?
Windsor is windsormusic.org, and there's no D in there, so WINSOR music.org.
We're really glad to have you both. Good luck tomorrow. Do you want to return to your colleagues?
Yeah, and I'll mention
this is a selection from Movement 2, Curiosity, correct? Thank you, Kev.
We'll say this again, but I'll say it now too. The concert is tomorrow night, 6 o'clock at the Yard at the Tobin Community Center in Mission Hill. If you want to get tickets, go to mhartsfest.org. That's mhartsfest.org. And here's the second performance from Windsor.
It's coming together.
Can you turn on my mic for 1 second? Can someone turn it? Let me just say, while they're preparing to play here, the music is beautiful if you're listening on the radio or watching on YouTube. Watching these people play is a whole other dimension. It is so beautiful watching the 6 of you. So I really encourage people to show up tomorrow. Kevin, you ready? Here they go.
at 6 at Windsor Music, Toby Community Center in Mission Hill tomorrow night at 6. For more info, go to mhartsfest.org. That's mhartsfest.org. Coming up after the new news, GBH's Callie Crossing is back. You're listening to Boston Public Radio, 89.7 GBH. Hey, Eastern Browdy, I am Marjorie Egan. You're listening to hour number 2 of Boston Public Radio. We are broadcasting live as we do every Friday and every Tuesday from the Boston Public Library. In about a half hour, we're going to be joined by the Attorney General of the Commonwealth. Andrea Campbell should be with us from 12:30 till 1:30. Hello again, Jim.
And Jay Farrow, SNL alum, will join us immediately after the Attorney General leaves. What?
Forgot to say we're streaming at youtube.com/GBH News and facebook.com/GBH News.
Well, speaking of, a couple of people missed when you said what the website for tomorrow's performance of Pulse is. It's MH, as in Mission Hill, mhartsfest.org. Joining us now on Zoom, she looks like she's in solitary confinement somewhere, is GBH's Callie Crossley. Callie is the host of Under the Radar with Callie Crossley, which you can catch Sunday nights right here on 89.7 at 6. She's also the host of Basic Black, that airs Friday at 7:30. You can also hear Callie commentaries on Mondays for GBH's Morning Edition. Callie, we're sorry you're not here, but we're thrilled to have you. Welcome to the show.
Oh, I'm so sorry not to be there.
Well, I hope you have a good excuse, Callie.
I
hope you have
do.
a good excuse. All right.
It was a technical meltdown over here that had to be addressed. So.
Okay, technical meltdown.
Likely story.
Yeah. So this bishop up in Worcester, Robert McManus, strikes again. People may recall that the Nativity School, middle school for nearly all kids of color, kids that come from tough home circumstances, he objected to their having a Black Lives Matter flag there, and he also objected to them having a Rainbow Pride flag there. The school, Nativity School, basically said thanks but no thanks, and they kept their signs up. They're run by the Jesuits. Now he's talking about the Archdiocese schools up there in Worcester. What's going on, Callie?
Well, they're instituting a new policy. He says because there have been disparate policies and not a uniform one, so they want to make sure they have a uniform one for all of the 21 schools and 5,260 students that are covered in the academic area that he has control over. And this is, actually not unusual if you think about Catholic Church says, a spokesperson says, hey, this is our policy. This is not something we haven't talked about before. This is a private school. This is what we're going to institute, which follows along with, our tenets of our religion. I mean, Marjorie, you can speak to this. You're a Catholic. And that's what they say they're going to do. And there is protest, obviously. It's going to be I can't imagine at this point how it's not going to be terribly disruptive on many levels, emotionally, and then even just to enforce it. And I think about the parents who are so often the champions of these students who are struggling so much to find themselves, and after they get brave enough to find themselves and announce who they are, if they're fortunate enough to have parents who support them, here the parents are put in the middle. The policy says they'll speak to the parents first, and if the parents want to get in line, fine, and if they don't, they risk having their kids dismissed from the school.
Can I just say, I'm not a Catholic. I'm not in anything, but it is uniform. It's uniform unnecessary cruelty to kids who are having about the hardest time, trans kids, they can possibly, no one's asking them to change Catholic doctrine. All that I think can be expected is be kind and welcoming. Who am I to judge was said by a pretty prominent Catholic. And by the way, just to get it out of my system, since you mentioned McManus, we spent hundreds of hours on this show and our prior show talking about the sex abuse crisis in the Catholic Church, obviously ground zero being right here. When McManus here finally releases some sort of document about sex abuse in his diocese, what's missing from it, Margaret?
The names of the priests.
The names of the priests.
I mean, he's not been very forthcoming, I think it's fair to say, on this.
Shouldn't he worry about that before he worries about what a trans kid calls
one of the big,
himself?
Huge problems for the Catholic Church is it's kind of like the United States of America. It's totally divided, and Catholics, most Catholics use birth control, and even most Catholics are not in favor of getting rid of abortion. The bishops in general are out of touch, I think, in the United States of America with what the people in the pews want, and that's one of the reasons why the numbers in the pews are shrinking. There's a very right-wing cadre of bishops. This guy seems to be one of them. And then there are very progressive bishops whose opinions often get drowned out.
But it's gratuitous cruelty and protecting sexual abusers. People have committed violent acts against other. I mean, it's just.
Well, you just would think that perhaps this is not where he wants to, what he wants to be known for.
Well, maybe it is what he wants to be known for.
Cracking down on 14-year-old kids who are gay or trans.
Maybe it is.
Or 12-year-old kids who are gay or trans. It's really.
On the one hand, it also appears that it came from nowhere, but apparently this has been in conversation for some time. And we should point out that the Boston Archdiocese does not have a policy, but says it's considering one.
Yeah, so, let's hope Sean O'Malley does not do any such thing.
So we've talked a lot since the 100-year anniversary of the Tulsa race massacres, which I'll say what we say every time, which Marjorie and I are both embarrassed to admit we didn't even know about until we heard about them in 2021. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, what has Black Lives Matter got to do with the doctrine of the Catholic Church, though? I mean, that's a bunch of baloney. These kids are mostly kids of color. The one in Boston is like 90% kids of color. So you got kids of color in this school, and you can't have a Black Lives Matter banner up there? I mean, what's that about? I don't know that's...
Well, I think that's an excellent question, because whereas he could make the case and is making it that the policy with regard to pronouns and being and having to live in the space where you were assigned at birth, I guess is what they're saying, that lines up with Catholic doctrine. I don't know what the Black Lives Matter sign.
He says it's anti-cop, which is ridiculous, which just shows to an incredible ignorance about what the Black Lives Matter movement was about, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So speaking
anyway,
of Black
I'm not too upset about this.
Speaking of Black Lives Matter, we've talked a lot since 2021 about the race massacre in Tulsa. Here is Viola Fletcher, the oldest living survivor of the massacre, testifying before Congress in 2021.
I'm here seeking justice, and I'm asking my country to acknowledge what happened in Tulsa in 1921. I will never forget the violence of the white mob. I still see black men being shot, black bodies lying in the street. I still smell smoke and see fire. I still see black businesses being burned. I hear the screams. I have lived through the massacre every day.
3 survivors. Before you tell us what's going on in the courts in Oklahoma, can you do a 60-second tutorial, Kelly Crossley, for those who still are not familiar with what happened in that Greenwood business district there?
In Tulsa, back in the 20s, as she referenced, there was something called Black Wall Street as a part of Tulsa. It really was created out of segregation, out of racism. Black communities wanted to be able to thrive and survive as well. So here were these entrepreneurs and business people. They couldn't participate in the broader community because they weren't allowed to because of segregation. So they set up their own and did very well. In fact, Black Wall Street was doing so well that a lot of white people in the area thought it was doing a little bit too well. And so they took it upon themselves to destroy it in an act of violence, premeditated in violence, and it ended up involving the state. And by that means, when I say the state, they sent in troops from the Oklahoma National Guard to drop bombs toward the end of this. There were days of rioting, and as she explained in her comments to Congress, lynchings and killings, and it didn't matter if you were a kid or an adult or whatever. So these survivors witnessed, and when they survived, they really did survive some horror. And so the point is, this was an assault that is on the country, is on the state, and they should be compensated in a way that when we have acknowledged that there has been great harm done to citizens in this way, that we respond in that way. So they've been taking this case everywhere. In fact, the late, great Charles Ogletree was very involved at some point. I forgot. That's right. And in Oklahoma itself, the lower court dismissed the case, but now the Oklahoma Supreme Court has taken it up again. Now there is some feeling that the Oklahoma Supreme Court is probably going to turn it down, but nonetheless, they have taken it up again. But what I find so odd is that in the lower court, according to the Attorney General's office, they're representing the Oklahoma State Troopers, it says that the plaintiffs failed to outline a clearly identifiable claim for relief. I'm like, I don't know how much clearer you can be. And they say that, their allegations are on conflicting historical facts from over 100 years ago. By the way, most of these survivors, there's 3 of them, are all over 100 years. Well, yeah, of course it'll be from over 100 years ago. I really am having a hard time. I don't understand why this isn't clear.
Okay, Callie Crossley, can we switch topics
Before we
here?
leave this topic, for those who are similarly embarrassed as we were when we learned about this years after we should have, a former colleague of ours here, the former co-host of the 10 o'clock news,
yes,
Carmen Field, did a terrific film.
She did.
Can someone check? I think it's called Going Back to T-Town.
Yes, Going Back to T-Town. Yes.
And it's available, I'm sure, on the GBH website, or if you just Google. It's really, it's a terrific piece of work that Carmen did that I think is sort of must-see.
As a native. She's an Oklahoma native.
I forgot that. It's very important. That's exactly right. So check it out, Carmen Field, Going Back to T-Town. I'm sorry,
Okay,
Marguerite.
I'm sure this story is included in Callie's lineup because Jim is obsessed with the subject of reclining airplane seats.
Yeah.
So to move from something very serious to something that's kind of...
This is serious.
Not on that level,
No, it's
needless
not
to
on
say.
that
But the $64,000 question, Callie, is reclining your airplane seat rude behavior? Or should one be able to do it when one is flying 8 hours across the Atlantic or wherever and wants to be able to catch a nap?
I don't think it's rude behavior, but I don't recline.
You don't?
No, I don't. I don't because primarily I want to sit up straighter, and that reclining is just not very comfortable. But it probably would be on a longer flight. I'm trying to remember when the last time I was on a longer flight that I possibly did recline. But usually on those longer flights, you have a little bit more space. So in fact, because they have shrunk the seat area so much, what happens is your laptop, your tray table, is in your throat if someone reclines.
That's a fair description.
I mean, it just, so then rude, I don't even know, it's dangerous at that point.
Yeah.
Do
you know Jim's history with the reclining seat
by the way,
on the airplane?
if you even try to say, don't tell the story again.
The air marshals had to intervene.
It is true. Well, I'm going to tell
stand by the bar for the entire rest of the flight.
I am going to tell the story.
With a
It
bar.
was a 747.
747.
I was coming back from England.
Well, you're kind of a tall guy, too.
Big guy.
Well,
Yep.
I'm kind of a tall guy, and the kid sitting in front of me was about 3'11", Kelly, and he chose to do a full recline.
Wow.
And when I asked the young man, and then his father, if they would maybe move up the seat a little bit, because as you say, the tray table was about to, I was about to be decapitated, essentially, and they refused, and I just reached around and pressed the button so the little punk seat went straight up. Literally, the flight attendants came to me and said, there is a regulation, I don't know if it's the FAA, AA, or whatever it is, that says a passenger is fully entitled to a full recline, regardless of what it means to the person sitting in back of them. So Marjorie's not joking. I was forced to leave my seat.
That's right.
You like this, I know.
I know. Jim was
Forced to
almost
leave my
arrested.
seat, stand at the bar, and there was a bar there in a 747, and I was told if I said another word about it,
that's right,
I'd be greeted by the air marshals.
Federal marshals.
At
We're going to
Logan.
greet him at Logan.
By the way, it is outrageous. Do you?
Lawyer in handcuffs.
Okay. By the way, this is a when you have to sit on a flight.
Right.
That was 6
That's
hours.
right. Yeah.
When you're on a 6-hour flight,
Yep.
and there's a chair in your face, it's a real serious problem. And I can't believe that the federal government or the FAA, well, that is the federal government, is not doing something. Marjorie's looking at me like she loves this. You
well, I
love
do.
my pain. It
Well,
makes you happy.
I just
It's
think
really the airline's fault because they have deliberately shrunk the
They have,
space.
of course.
Well,
but the FAA or one of these regulatory agencies, I believe, can mandate how many inches of space is the minimum, in terms of width and breadth and whatever. In any case, unfortunately, the rule, from what I understand, is you're entitled to a full recline of your own seat, regardless of what it does to somebody else, which is really a horrible circumstance.
It is. I can't say that it's not a horrible circumstance. It's bad.
Now, Kelly Crossley, because of you, I learned that if I wanted to get my avocados riper, I put them in a brown paper bag.
That's
and
correct.
it does make them become riper.
Yeah.
So what's going on with avocados? Where's the store? Is it Trader Joe's?
No, it's Shake Shack.
Shake Shack.
This is a great job.
Yeah, you wouldn't think of Shake Shack as needing an avocado czar, but apparently they've got
Why not?
one.
They're hiring a chief avocado officer. I think this is fabulous. And they just want somebody who's obsessed with avocados who can, look for the perfect candidates so that they can use them in their stores. And I think it would be great just for the experience. What's that like? I don't know. I think it's wonderful. They apparently use it. I don't do the Shake Shack very often, but they have a avocado bacon menu.
Ooh.
So the burger that comes with sliced avocado and applewood smoked bacon and shack sauce, along with this avocado bacon chicken, and that's a chicken breast with sliced avocado, applewood smoked bacon, lettuce, pickles, and buttermilk herb mayo. And for those sandwiches, they want the avocado to be perfect.
Have you been to Shake Shack?
I have, and I'll tell you why in a second. And by the way, Marjorie and I have talked about when the radio dries up, we either are going to be greeters at Encore, or we can be chief avocado officers. By the way, excuse me, you two.
Yep.
Talk about perfect segues. Whose, quote, guilty pleasure is Shake Shack in Washington? Let me start with Callie Crossley. Who might that be?
Oh, I know.
Excuse me, you're next.
Okay.
Whose guilty pleasure?
Shack.
Her words, not mine.
Yep.
I'll give you a hint. She lives nearby now, too.
No.
She spent 8 years in a particular...
Michelle Obama?
Michelle
Yes.
Obama.
I thought she was Five Guys. I didn't realize she
No,
was
it's
Shake
Shack. And I'd like to
Okay.
say the following. For about, how many years have I been saying that Michelle Obama should be the Democratic nominee for president?
Years.
Yeah, like
There
decades.
was a
Since
story
Obama.
in either Politico or something the other day that said if for whatever reason, we're not going to go into it now because we're going to get people angry, Joe Biden decides that he is not going to run for the presidency, is Michelle Obama, despite you two ridiculing me every time I bring it up, is actually thinking about this. So mark my words,
She's
Callie
not
Cross.
thinking about it.
Well, that's
No,
what you
she's not.
say.
She's not thinking about it. Okay, so I don't know where you are. I should know this. Where are you on pumpkin spice?
Are you kidding? I have written so many words on the anti-pumpkin spice.
Good
I'm
for
so
you.
Sick of it. Sick of
Woman
it.
of principle.
Okay,
Yeah.
so why are you sick of it?
Well, explain why we're talking about it
because
today.
it's going back to Dunkin' Donuts.
I know,
Early.
In August.
The fall
Usually,
menu.
I write something about this every year about how they bring it rush summer and bring the fall menu back before the end of August.
Yeah, why do
And-
they do that?
Well, because I think Dunkin' Donuts or I guess it's just Dunkin's now. Dunkin's is trying to beat Starbucks because Starbucks, when they release their pumpkin spice thing, it's a big deal. They make a big deal out of it, and it usually comes at the end of August. So to get a jump on them, it's just totally a sales thing. They're putting their line out before. And I'm saying this as somebody who actually appreciates one part of the Dunkin' pumpkin lineup, which is the muffin. The muffin is really good.
Oh, the muffin. I've had the pumpkin muffin. Yeah, that is good.
But the spice drink, I can't get with. I've tried the Starbucks one. Everybody thinks is great. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get why everything has to be pumpkin spice. None of that. Makes me crazy. But I really don't get why they have to bring it before the end of August. I think it's ridiculous.
Now,
Remember
Kelly,
the good old days at GBH when the back door was open and we could just zip right out?
Yeah.
those were the
Yeah.
good old
We could
days.
Those
go
were
right
the
across
good
the
old
street and go
days.
to Dunkin' Donuts and come
Well,
back
now
with a
you
dozen
could get
donuts
your
for the
pumpkin
staff.
spice.
Yeah,
It's too
you get
early.
pumpkin spice. You have to walk around the whole building to get there.
Kelly, can we take a brief pause here?
Yes.
A lot of people ask us, what happens behind the scenes with
Yes.
you and Marjorie. So
Yeah.
let me just give an update if I
Okay.
can.
What happened
For
behind the
example,
scenes?
when the musicians were playing and I was worried we were running out of time,
Right.
I texted Marjorie while they were playing and said something like, if they're still playing at the end, we'll tamp down the music and you can just do a quick tease of it's show content during
Yes.
the 3 hours of the show because we obviously can't talk to each other. Let me read the text I just got from Marjorie. Excuse me, I got this while you were speaking, Callie Crossley.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she motions with her phone to pick it up, so I assume it means we should ask Callie about this, make sure he has. Here's what the text I got in the middle of the show.
'Cause you were talking about avocados.
Excuse me.
I got-
Here's what the text is.
Okay.
I'll read you my last one. If we're not done, why don't you just say, hear them at the Mission Hill Music
Yeah.
Festival. We'll be right back with Callie Crossley. Marjorie texts me, I'm hungry. You want to split a sandwich?
I am hungry.
I mean, really? Kelly's talking.
Kelly's talking. Well, you're talking about avocados. You're talking
On
about
a
Shake
sandwich.
Shack.
Do you want to
I have
split
been
a
to Shake Shack.
sandwich?
Shake Shack's not bad, actually. Not that we should be eating
There's
all
a
these
great
extra
avocado
bacon cheese.
sandwich at the library, actually, at the
With
cafe.
Oh, there is, with the bacon and the whatever.
Lettuce,
That's
tomato, and
actually
avocados.
true.
It's absolutely delicious. Maybe we should split that. That is my favorite sandwich, Jim.
Okay,
How
well,
about
that's
that?
the real Marjorie Egan is
Okay.
all I can say. And yes, I will split a sandwich with you at the appropriate time.
Okay, so what's going on Under the Radar, Callie Crossley?
We're doing our Latinx roundtable, so we're talking about Amora Healy acknowledging an emergency situation with the influx of the migrants. We're talking about a culture war debate about a new Latino museum, but led by Latinx Republicans. Hello.
Really?
Explain that. And we're really excited about the new Blue Beetle movie coming out. It's a Latino superhero, which they can't promote, of course, because of SAG and Writers Guild strikes. So I'm saying it now. It looks fabulous.
It does?
Everybody is so excited about it. So we got to get the word of mouth.
Well, we
out.
have some sound, Callie.
Yeah,
we have some sound.
trailer.
Can we play it? Here's a clip
Play
from
the
the
sound.
Warner Brothers Pictures DC superhero film. Are we allowed to be? Can we play a clip or? Are
Why
we,
not? Yes, of course.
I don't know if we're supposed to be.
We can. We're
we
news.
can.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I'm hopefully we're in solidarity. I hope it's okay. We'll find.
Yeah.
Actually, Jay Farrow is very active in the union. We'll ask him about it at 1:30 if we made a mistake here. Here's a little bit of the trailer from the superhero Blue Beetle. It's in theaters. Oh, actually today.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I forgot how bad it looks.
I've seen worse.
Where?
You don't want to know. Okay, what the hell is this thing?
It's some kind of a world-destroying weapon.
Oh, that's nice. Wow.
It says...
And did you know what was going to happen to my brother when you stuck him with this world-destroying thing?
No, I swear to you, I had no idea this would happen.
I mean, come on.
My father said it can't be activated by just any person. He has to choose you. So
Okay.
I'm guessing it's...
You want to guess it's okay? Because I just realized that I was listening to a radio show, not ours, a couple of days ago, when the hosts were urging people to boycott films that were made by union members, and a union leader, a local union leader from SAG-AFTRA, called in and said, we're not asking people to do that. We actually want people to go to the things that are already in the can that are out in the world. In any case.
Okay, I'm surprised. I saw the trailer for this. The kid has got this gross-looking beetle in the middle of his back, like it's implanted there. I wouldn't think this was your kind of movie, Callie.
Oh, you know, I love superhero movies. I'm a real Marvel person. I'm typically not a DC person, but I'm going to see this one.
Okay.
I am told that not only does it have just a lot of great lines and good story, but it really is careful about, exposing a lot of different Latinx identities. So this will be fun and informative in some ways, and I'm looking forward to it.
Okay.
Fabulous.
The whole movie is going to have this gross blue beetle in the middle of his back.
Well, you don't know.
Yes.
You don't know that, actually.
Yeah.
No. Well, let me just also say we're talking about the 60th anniversary of the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom with someone from here who was there, and also an organizer of the march, and just looking at what happened then and whether or not we can, in this moment of time of a lot of racial tumult, talk about progress.
Now, Callie, we had a lot more things to talk to you about, but I'm reading Marjorie is hungry and needs a sandwich. So unfortunately, we have to terminate this conversation. It's great to see you.
Callie, I miss
Take
you.
care of yourself.
I know.
missed you.
I saw her in the hall yesterday. It was a joy, actually.
I was looking forward to coming.
You could have been
Next
here
time.
to have the BLT with the avocados.
Exactly.
Back there in some very sterile-looking studio.
Good to
back
see
at
you, Callie
GBH.
Crossley.
Thank you.
Callie,
Take
thank
care.
you very, very much. Great segment a few weeks ago about the. What do you call the place that does the medically prepared meals? Did a great segment.
Oh, yes,
on that.
thank you. Yes.
Yeah, that was
okay.
wonderful. That's Corby Cummer's very involved in
is.
that too.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, I forget the name of it.
Well,
What's it called?
none of us can, but we'll figure it out in a minute.
Okay, all right. That was Callie Cross.
Community serving. Thank you, John Parker.
Thank you, John
Wonderful
Parker.
group.
That's a great thing. That
It
if
is.
people
It is.
have
It is.
diabetes,
It is.
people have cancer, people
You're
have
right.
other
It's
things,
great.
medically prepared foods.
It
Anyway,
is.
Callie Crossley joins us every week. She's the host of Under the Radar with Callie Crossley, which you can catch Sunday nights right here on 89.7 at 6 o'clock. She's also the host of Basic Black, which airs every Friday at 7:30. And you can also hear Callie's commentaries on Mondays for GBH's Morning Edition. Thank you very much to Callie Crossley. Okay, after a quick break, Attorney General Andrea Campbell is with us for an hour of Ask the Attorney General. You can call or text questions for her at 877-301-8970. You can also come down to the Boston Public Library and see the Attorney General in person. She's going to be here from 12:30 to about 1:30. You are listening to Boston Public Radio 89.7 GBH. We are broadcasting live on YouTube. We are streaming, I should say, at youtube.com/GBH News and facebook.com/GBH News.
Welcome back to Boston Public Radio. Jim Browdy and Marge Regan. We're live at the Boston Public Library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News and facebook.com/GBH News. We're joined now for her August appearance for Ask the Attorney General by the Attorney General, Andrea Joy Campbell. It's great to see you, Attorney General. How are you?
It's great to see you. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thank
you. If you've got a question.
Look at this audience.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I think it's from Marjorie, but that's okay. In any case, if you have a question for the AG, you can call or text at 877-301-8970, or you can find our colleague, Nicole. Nicole is sitting right there drinking water with her hand raised. You can fill out a little card, and if you pass whatever standard she has, there's a decent chance you can ask your question directly to the Attorney General. It's great to see you, Attorney General. Thanks
for being here. It's great to see you guys.
Thank you. Do you want a drink? Do you want something?
No, I'm good.
Okay?
I have water.
Oh, you do? Okay,
I have
great.
lots of water.
So let's start. The governor declared an emergency situation the other day in terms of the number of migrants that are coming into the Commonwealth. And you sent a letter to the Department of Homeland Security asking them to expedite the employment process for people that are coming here from other countries who can't work. Explain why they can't work and what you're trying to do.
So first of all, I want to just acknowledge and extend gratitude to the governor, Mayor Wu as well. There was news today that a joint application that they sent to the federal government is going to bring in millions of dollars to help us with, to be able to house these folks, which is critically important. So I want to start by thanking them for their leadership. The other piece that is substantial is folks are here and they have crossed the border. They're here legally. And they are, of course, in housing, emergency shelter housing. They want to leave that housing and frankly, start their lives. What is holding them back is they can't work. And not because they don't want to. They have jobs and employers lined up, but the federal government is taking too long to process those applications. So I, along with 18 other AGs, so this is a multi-state effort, sent a letter to the Department of Homeland Security and said, excuse me, but you have to speed this up. In some cases, it's taking 10 months to process these applications, which is way too long. And if we want to be able to ease the burden on this system, we have to get these folks to be able to work. They want to work, they're legally are able to work, but they need this permit. We also want to step further to say, if it's going to take you too long for whatever reason, allow them to work, to provide documentation, get out there, and then, work it out, work the process as they're working these jobs to care for their families and, frankly, release the burden on the system.
Attorney General, when Maura Healey was here a couple of weeks ago and discussing the very same, I think was it the day she declared the emergency? The day she declared the emergency. When she said, like you did, the federal government, immediately I started thinking, well, of course, Kevin McCarthy's never going to allow this. They're not going to get 60 votes. And then she makes clear it isn't about Congress. It's about the Biden administration, and she was hesitant, and I'm trying to be fair, to call out the Biden administration, but Joe Biden and his Secretary of Homeland Security could do this afternoon, and it seems to me there's not really another side to this. Why aren't they doing it?
I think there is. So I want to be fair. Congress is a major problem in this, and we know who's holding up immigration reform. Who is standing in the way of us creating more pathways, expanding the pathways we currently have to folks to come here legally, to be able to take advantage of all the things and all the blessings we have in this country.
But you don't need comprehensive immigration reform to do what you want done here.
No, we don't. But we still need it to be able to meet the needs of what we're seeing in other countries and, of course, meet the needs of the families who are coming here. This is only a subset of those folks we're talking about. And so I want to give credit to the president as well as the vice president and the administration, because they are working hard to try to create more avenues when Congress is slow to work, and we know Republicans in particular. And so what we're saying to them is, we get that there is a large number of folks coming across the border, this subset of people trying to take advantage of the programs that the Biden administration is creating. And so that's going to create some bureaucracy. So we want to work in partnership with you, give you great ideas to streamline these processes, and also to let them know, in some instances, they may not know that it's taking 10 months. So we're saying, okay, it's taking 10 months. They don't want that. So we're going to work in partnership, but in no way would I point any finger at President Biden administration. They're doing what's necessary, and they're going to work with us, and I'm confident of that in response to this.
But let's just be clear. I want to be clear here. On this issue specifically,
we can work
permits,
with them and get it done.
The Biden administration doesn't need a Republican to sign on.
That's right.
They can do it themselves. So,
and I'm confident they're going to work with us to get this right.
So if you'll excuse my legalese, you screwed us a couple of weeks ago when you had an interview with the vice president. Because our colleague...
Wait, when you started that question, I was like, wait, where's this going?
Paris Alston and I had an interview with the vice president, too. Nobody cared about that because you're interviewing her on the stage of the NAACP. Did you ask the vice president about this when you were talking to her?
I did not. We did an interview mainly, frankly, focused on the power of the NAACP conference, that organization, the historical nature of it in Boston, racial disparities, frankly. We talked a lot about maternal health and other racial disparities, wealth building that we could do, some of the work that she's doing. But this is something we have been following because it has reached an unprecedented crisis in Massachusetts and other states. It's an opportunity for us to go back. And so she's a part of the solution. And it was great to be on stage and to have that interview with her and to highlight the work she's doing.
We felt the same way. She was great.
I'm sorry that you got screwed in that process.
Well, as I told you before we went on the air, Jim did the interview with Paris Alston, who is our morning anchor, co-anchor of the morning news, and people said that she made Jim look cool.
I think that is so untrue. It is ridiculous.
Accept
she did a terrific job. I can own it.
I own it.
Yeah, own it. She's somewhat more of a better dressed.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I dressed up for the vice president. So a couple of weeks ago, were you here when Diana DiZoglio was on? Or were you
Yes, I was.
The auditor joined us, and as I think most people listening to the show or in the audience here know, she wants to audit the legislature.
That's right.
Thinks she has the power. Here's what she had to say that involves you.
She will have the decision as to whether or not she chooses to represent us or the legislative leaders in this particular case.
Do you have any?
I do not have any indication of where the Attorney General is leaning right now, but I would hope, of course, that she would support our efforts on behalf of taxpayers, as again, this is a simple matter of increasing transparency, accountability, and equity, and this is the only state entity that is refusing to comply.
Okay, what are you doing?
We're doing a lot. First, I will say we've obviously been in contact with the state auditor, I myself as well, and as well as the legislature, the speaker, the president. And I just want to stress that this is rare that you have one part of government wanting to sue another, or vice versa, depending on how this unfolds. And so we are doing our due diligence. We are reaching out to everyone. We are not rushing this process. We're looking at the laws, of course. We're also looking at all the materials that the auditor spoke to, because I didn't receive it until that day. She released the letter. I got it that day. She released audits that she thinks supports her case. We are gathering all that, and let me tell you, when we make that decision, it will be thoughtful, and we'll be crystal clear as to why we made a decision one way or the other.
I have one more question about this. She said to us that if it turns out you decided not to represent her, which would mean that you believe that she didn't have the power to audit, I think that would be the conclusion, that she would lead, excuse me, in her individual capacity, not as the auditor, but as a citizen of the Commonwealth, a ballot campaign which would establish a law that would mandate that she have that power. And her argument, which I find great sympathy for, we are the least transparent state in America. It's the only state in America, as you know, where all three branches of executive, legislature, judiciary claim to be exempt from the public records law. Even if you decided that she's wrong and the legislature's right under current law, would you support the ballot question that allowed her to audit the legislature? Should she have to go that route?
So two things. One is, I do believe in transparency, and I've been on the record over the years talking about expanding public records law, access, all of that, so that voters get the information and taxpayers get the information they should be entitled to. And crystal clear on that point. This is a little different when you talk about the auditor and her authority here. We are currently reviewing ballot initiatives. And I know that we currently have, I think it was 8 groups who filed, maybe close to 42, and we're still reviewing those. I cannot take a position on those yet, and I will be clear, because right now we have to go through to determine whether or not they comply with the Constitution, Article 48, and if they do, they will proceed. But there's another layer, and this is what, as we go through this, how do you translate in layman terms to people what we're doing? The tricky thing about the whole ballot initiative process is you can go through the entire process, get your required signatures. There's no part of the process where we have to analyze if the ballot initiative violates the Constitution or not, or other laws. So you could have a petition go all the way through, land on the ballot, be voted in, and then later have to decide, or if someone challenges it, if it's legal or not. And so there are so many layers and steps where people along the way can challenge the constitutionality of it. So more to come on that. Obviously, it is her power in her other capacity to pursue this. And so we will update folks if this actually goes through and is approved by the office and go from there.
But as a pro-transparency person, last question I'll ask about this. Conceptually, do you support the concept the auditor should be able to take a look at the legislature?
I'm going nowhere near that until we make our decision.
We're talking with the Attorney General of the Commonwealth, Andrea Campbell. We're going to get to your phone calls and texts in just one second, but I do want to ask you about this maternal health equity deal. You've awarded a big grant, $1.5 million. Explain why you thought we needed help in this regard.
Oh my goodness. So I'm just going to pull out. So the DPH I have too many papers. I normally don't have this many papers with me, but there is just one particular data point I want to make sure that I share, because it's actually gotten worse. So in maternal health the maternal health crisis has always been a major issue. And so there has been a data point that I think folks have known for some time, that if you are a black birthing person, that you are 2 times more likely to have complications and to die in the process of giving birth than a white counterpart. But what's worse is the Department of Public Health recently released another report that talked about how those numbers have actually gotten worse. So from 2011 to 2020, they looked at various data, but found that with black non-Hispanic birthing people, consistently, they are experiencing the highest rates of labor and delivery complications among all races, all ethnicities. And that not only has it nearly doubled, it was twofold in 2011, it's actually gotten worse and got worse in 2020. And so the data out there locally and nationally continues to be worse. And you think about, we're in Massachusetts, the healthcare system that is the greatest in the world. I'm a mother of 2 boys, by the grace of God and other things, and a great doctor and great providers and great insurance. I did not have those complications and had pretty good labors. But that is not the case for so many. And what's also amazing is there are so many organizations in the Commonwealth, across the Commonwealth, doing great work to close these gaps on the ground. And we said, you know what, we want to support you. So for the first time in the history of the office, we are using our grant-making tool, and we put out $1.5 million to support organizations. They applied through a grant process. We received, of course, a lot more than we could give. And we rewarded organizations across every single county in Massachusetts, as far as Berkshire County. The only county that didn't get it was Franklin County, sadly, but we're working with folks there to identify organizations that we can partner with in the future, because we wanted every county, but we didn't get Franklin this time. And these folks will do the work of making sure folks have access to doulas, that folks have access to health navigators, communication, and other things they would need. So much to be able to close this gap. And I am beyond excited and delighted for the work by my internal team, but also these organizations as well.
Well, you know, not only is the work you're doing, I just want to do an ad for a colleague of ours who's on the show every week. In addition to the wonderful work you're doing on this issue, Michael Curry, who's with us weekly.
That's right.
He's head of the League of Community Health Centers and leading this health equity compact, a couple dozen people of color who are leading health organizations.
That's right.
Instead, I know you're working with him, is doing wonderful work to get the message out.
He and so many others were at the
Yeah.
outset even informing the idea.
Yeah.
So before we crafted and finalized the application, so many folks have been doing this work. So it's been a true partnership,
Great.
and I'm excited for the outcomes.
Want to take some calls?
Sure.
Let's do it.
Mary Lou in Brookline, you are on with the Attorney General of the Commonwealth, Andrea Campbell. Thanks for calling.
Hi, Mary Lou.
Yes, good morning.
Hi, Mary Lou.
Councilwoman, or Attorney General.
She's the Attorney General.
I was on the council before, and I did love that too, so thank you.
Yeah, sorry about that. I've been talking to some friends of mine. I don't know if this is under your jurisdiction, about the whole Kendra Lara debacle, and just recently they said they were changing the venue because of some kind of conflict of interest. And I think that, frankly, the taxpayers of Boston deserve better for their money than being asked to subsidize, basically kind of a low-rent con artist.
Mary Lou, before, I really would appreciate if you ask a question rather than defaming somebody.
Yeah, well,
Do you have if I may, what's the question for the Attorney General?
If it is under your jurisdiction, what course of action are you planning on taking to make sure that she doesn't escape the justice that she and everyone else?
We should say she was in a car accident, allegedly speeding, and she ran into someone's home, and she had her young son without the correct booster seat in
And
the
their
backseat
criminal
of her
charges
car.
pending.
And their criminal charges
That's right.
pending, right.
It is not, so thank you, Mary Lou, for the call. It's not within the AGO's jurisdiction. But I will add one thing.
Sure.
I recently met with Mayor Wu, and we were talking about ways in which to partner in the work, and there's a lot of ways to partner in the work. And we both come from the City Council. I was also going back and forth with Senator Edwards. A lot of us, Congressman Presley, we come from the council, and we're able to do and deliver really great results and work for our constituents because we were able to work in partnership, even when we didn't agree as colleagues, and with the level of professionalism and integrity and exceptionalism that folks should expect. So it is really sad, disappointing, to say the least, and devastating to see the council in the state of affairs that it is in. Folks can't engage, they can't talk, you agree to disagree, it's personal, it's about people's families, and so they have more work to do. And if people agree and they think they should have different representation, well, that's why you get out and vote. We are here because you put us here, and we're expected to act accordingly and to operate by a high standard of excellence, and so people should vote if they feel otherwise.
Who's your counselor?
My counselor is Brian Worrell, who, let me give him credit, who is really great. He's working really hard, and of course we stay in contact as well. And I, of course, had the at-large counselors too.
We're going to bring him up actually in a few minutes in another context with you. We are.
There was a great shining moment in the City Council when you were there, Ayanna Presley and Mayor Wu was there, and all these other people were there. It was like,
and Lydia Edwards.
Lydia Edwards, Nisa Sabi George. We did great work together.
But something has happened since you all
and that's
left.
where you have to get the personnel out. And I think the divisiveness that we're seeing at the national level, sadly, is showing up here. And people have had, at least I know I've had enough of that noise. People expect us to get things done, and let me tell you, we have a lot of isures to work on, so we have no time to waste.
Mary Lou, thanks for the call.
We have a text about a serious situation. The texter leave their name, but they want to know, Attorney General, if you can speak to the closing of all the Compass medical centers in southeastern Massachusetts. The texter says many of us are still scrambling to try and find a doctor and get their prescriptions, et cetera.
Okay.
Explain what happened there.
Compass, a medical provider, abruptly closed. And this is, we talked about this before. It is ridiculous. I want to be crystal clear on that. The office is working really hard. We got hundreds of calls that very first day. And so we're viewing it in phases. So our Healthcare Fair Competition Bureau, which works really hard, in phase 1 is helping folks that texted you, making sure they have access to the prescriptions, they are moved to new providers, even helping the providers who weren't paid the wages they were entitled to. So if this person has a specific concern relating to them, they should connect with Lauren, of course, from my team who is here, and we can help on that individual case. And then phase 2 is looking at policy changes. You shouldn't be able to go on Monday to see your provider, and they know they're closing on Tuesday, and they don't have an obligation legally to tell you that. Some people do, some don't, and depending on the status of this particular entity, they don't. And so there's some policy changes that we need to discuss so that doesn't happen in the future.
Is there a division that a person like this should contact, or a phone number or something?
They can start with Lauren, who's here, and if they have text messages.
Yeah, we don't have.
Oh, text. So let me, should I give her the consumer hotline? 617-727-8400.
Okay, I hope that helps you.
And who do they ask for when they get
Well, someone will pick up and direct them to the appropriate person.
So I was about to say to you, you have an announcement to make on the show, and someone introduced, but it turns out I was just told by our lead producer, there's a better segue into it. Marilyn has a question for you, which I think will get you where you want to go in a second.
Hi, and I see you with the elder wearing a shirt. Purple. Great.
Hi,
Good
Marilyn.
to see you.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you, and thank you for taking my question.
Sure.
Of course.
Today it does have to do with elder care.
That's right.
Your office, the elderly have always been the target of a lot of scams. Construction, healthcare, you name it, it comes at us.
That's right.
Now that I am one, I'm experiencing it constantly. So I'm wondering if you have a unit in your department that just focuses on elder problems, and a direct phone number to come in and ask them, so that you also get a picture of what's going on.
Yes, yes, and yes, Marilyn. First of all, thank you for the question. I was at one of the walks that they did in Boston Common to raise awareness, and excited to announce even just today that we have committed, even on the campaign, I committed to establishing an elder justice unit, which would be new in the office. And this fabulous looking woman who just came next to me, Mary Freely, is going to be the new director of that unit. She comes with experience of over 2 decades in the AG's office in the Healthcare Bureau. But it's a unit that is designed to not only give out information to folks and be sort of a one-stop shop, so you don't have to go to so many different places, but also to take on the abuse that you're talking about, the uptick in scams, the long-term care facilities and abuse and neglect we're seeing there, and to leverage the power that we see in the office in one way, not siloed, to help our elders. So more to come, but we're announcing that today, and Mary's going to lead that work, and I'm excited for the possibilities of what it can do.
So before you start yelling at Mary for not doing her job, can we congratulate Mary Freely
congratulate Mary Freely.
getting this job?
So
Mary, I hope your mom is listening.
I think she probably is.
Well, good. So tell people, Mary, what's your I mean, the Attorney General just mentioned some of the things, the scams, the long-term elder care, the abuses, but give us a sense of what you'll be doing.
Well, thank you for having me here with the Attorney General, and I'm very pleased to have this opportunity. I have been with the office for a long time, and I'm aware of the work of the office across divisions and bureaus, both in the consumer protection area, and over the last several years, I've learned more about the issues facing our older adults, including the scams that are targeting older adults. And this new unit, one of the things that we will do is we'll continue to, with our community engagement division, get out there to educate consumers about the new scams, the latest scams, so that they don't fall prey to those. But we'll also bring enforcement actions and coordinate, be a central focus of the office for these types of questions and complaints.
You know, I think the most important thing you said, Attorney General, before introducing Mary Freely, is the one-stop nature. One of the problems people have with government, even those who don't make a living trashing government, is where do I go? I go here, they say call this number. Explain what one-stop
That's
means
right.
operationally for people who have an issue?
So right now in the office, there is an elder hotline, there's a consumer hotline, so there's various hotlines that people can be using. And before I end, I can specifically share the elder hotline number.
Good.
But the new unit is to say we need more than that. As people are calling in, they have various concerns. You shouldn't have to go to 4 or 5 different places. You should be able to go to one place, especially our elders who may not have all the technological, be able to get on a computer, whatever it is, one place to go and get the information you need. And if the AG's office is not directly involved in the matter, to give you a warm referral and to then be able to follow up with us. You know, I did that warm referral and they were not helpful. But more importantly, what Mary said, to leverage the tools in the office. You know, our Medicaid fraud unit is taking on so many cases right now where elders are being abused, it seems like every day, in some horrific cases in long-term care facilities inside their homes. They're prosecuting these cases. They're working in partnership with the feds to do the same thing. All of our units, I feel like, are taking on constituent cases to make sure we're putting the money back into the pockets of elders who are being scammed. But there needs to be ongoing coordination, and that's what Mary's going to do along with other folks she brings on her team.
You know, Mary, I want to ask you one question. Mary Freely, who's the new head of the Elder Justice Unit in the AG's office. Your boss, just used the term a minute ago, navigator. And that's another problem in government. I think even if there is a one-stop, even if you get the right answer, the next time you call, you get somebody else. You have to tell the whole damn story all over again. Will someone stay with Marilyn or somebody who calls in with an issue until he or she or they have their problem resolved?
That's a great question, because one of the things that we have found is that there are silos in government, whether you're in an assisted living facility or a nursing home or in the community, which agency helps you out. So we do want to provide that coordination among the AG's office, our sister agencies, and as the Attorney General mentioned, have that follow-up so that we can follow up with our agency counterparts if there is an issue that seems to be, dropping.
And one individual will essentially stay with a problem or stay with a person so that that person can go back there until their issue is resolved. Is that correct?
We hope so. As we build and amplify this unit,
That's right.
we want some patient resident advocates.
I want to add, because Mary, I think, is being very humble. I mean, she comes with over 20 years of experience in the office, but internally, people thought Mary would be the best because she was already coordinating so many folks internally and externally with respect to elder issues, convening groups internally, engaging with folks externally. So comes with those relationships with organizations and individuals and everyone in the office. This is what's so great about this office. You call us to try to handle a matter. Even if we have to tell you no, we will do that, but we will make sure we're responsive to you and sort of walk you through all the way to the end. And I think that's what's really special about the AG's office is we want to help people and we want to see that to the end and not sort of leave anyone hanging. And so this unit, we want to make sure it's resourced. Obviously, we want to make sure Mary has human capital to support those efforts too. And we're going to do just that.
Did you vote for her, Mary?
I certainly did.
I can't believe you just asked her that.
She didn't have to answer. I didn't ask you.
Well, I will say there are people in my office who maybe didn't vote for me, and
Well,
that's okay.
fine.
I
Of
love
course,
you
that's
all because
totally
we're working
fine.
hard together.
Love that, exactly.
You know what I've noticed on my phone lately? That I get these phone calls and it says scam likely. And I'm
Yes.
wondering if that's from Apple or if that's from the Attorney General or where's that coming from?
It's not us.
It's not you.
It's not the AG's
Yeah.
office, but it may be the telephone connection.
It could be the telephone connection because that's very helpful. If
It's
it says
usually me,
it is
actually.
Scam, yeah, it's usually you.
And I'll just add, since we're talking, people need to be mindful of scams, especially elders and older residents. We just did a telethon, whatever.
Teletown hall.
Teletown hall with AARP. And we had so many people calling. And that is, if it doesn't sound right, doesn't feel right,
Yeah.
it probably isn't. Get some information and then hang up and call back. Or if you feel like, it's not right, then call us. And we can be helpful there.
What is
But
that
just-
hotline? You're going to mention the elder hotline.
It's
888-243-5337. Say it one more time, please.
888-243-5337.
Mary Freely, congratulations. It's great to see you, and we
Thank you very
wish you a lot of luck. We really
Thank you
appreciate it.
very much. We're talking to the Attorney General of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Andrea Campbell. She's going to be with us for another half hour or so, taking our questions and yours. The number to call is 877-301-8970. And we're very grateful that Mary Freely came in, the new director of the Elder Justice Unit, and I'll give that elder hotline. Again, it is 888-243-5337. You're listening to Boston Public Radio 89.7, broadcasting from the Boston Public Library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News and facebook.com/GBH News.
Welcome back to Boston Public Radio. Jim Browdy and Marge Regan. We're live at the Boston Public Library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News, facebook.com/GBH News. The Attorney General is kind enough to be with us for monthly Ask the Attorney General. If you have a question for Andrea Campbell, you call her, text her, or show up at the library. You can ask her directly, as Marilyn just did, at 877-301-8970. She'll be with us roughly another half hour.
Attorney General, I have a text message from one of your classmates from Mrs. Wood's class at the Bradley School in East Boston. My name is Naomi Hall, maiden name Cordova. Please extend my well wishes to the Attorney General. I'm in awe of what she's achieved despite some adversity and wish her nothing but the best. Fun fact, her aunt shuttled me from Roxbury to East Boston with them every day during a bus strike.
Oh my goodness. Hello and thank you.
Hello.
And the Bradley. So I grew up right in Roxbury in the South End, and I went to 5 BPS schools. So I know the transportation system well. And so I went to the Bradley for 5th grade in East Boston. And Mrs. Wood, she's an incredible teacher. She's retired now, was an amazing teacher. And we had a great class, and they set us up well. And after that, I went to the Timilty and then Latin school.
Well, you probably can't answer this question either because this could be a ballot question, but do you have any feelings about the MTA, the Mass Teachers Association, wants to end the MCAS graduation requirement? You probably had to take the MCAS graduation requirement.
I did. And it came on, actually, I think in the beginning so I was graduated 2000.
You did?
Yeah, I graduated
She's a lot
2000.
younger than we are, Jim.
My God.
Young and fabulous.
Young and fabulous, that's right.
You have to tell yourself this, otherwise you could forget. I just was with some young teens yesterday from My Life, My Choice. I said, look yourself in the mirror and say you're young and fabulous.
I like that.
At all ages.
Yeah.
And so, yes, that is one. There's a couple actually that have that theme. So more to come. We're going through the process, and we will let folks know sooner than later what's checked all the boxes and what will move forward and what's required after that.
If young Andrea Joy Campbell was with us and we were to say to her in 2000, so how do you feel about MCAS as a graduation requirement? What would she have said to us, Attorney General?
I was such a nerd. I mean, I left Latin school to go to Princeton as a math major.
We know that.
So I would have been like, nothing wrong with tests. I was at Latin school. They tested us all the time. We had, books, big book bags, and I actually the joke is when I went to Princeton, I felt like Latin school gave me more homework than Princeton. And so I thought I guess it's good to know where you are, but I understand what the concerns are on both sides.
Okay, let's go to Caroline in Fairhaven. You're on with the Attorney General. That would be Andrea Campbell. Hi.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for taking my call. Attorney General, your consumer division deserves a lot of kudos for doing everything it can to help Vantage travel victims who've been bilked out of about $108 million.
Oh, yes.
But this department can only do so much. So my question is, now that the company's been sold and has been through bankruptcy court, what might your legal department and you do to go after Henry Lewis to be able to help us victims?
Thank you for that, and I appreciate you giving them credit. They work really hard every single day in a lot of cases like this. Vantage, we're proud to put millions of dollars back into the pockets of constituents, and we were working really fast because we knew that they were trying to do this. Obviously, the bankruptcy creates a hurdle. We're continuing to follow this case. We're continuing to see what options exist. And, at the end of the day, we want to do what we can, but that does present a barrier. But we're seeing what other options are available as best we can. So we'll stay in touch with folks.
What did they do?
Caroline, thank you.
They left people high and dry after they paid for trips?
And pretty much. We're trying to get more details here, but our immediate goal was to get folks reimbursements and restitution as soon as possible before any bankruptcy proceeding, and we moved quickly. Folks called us, but we understand that there are still folks who have not been made whole, and so we're going to do what we can, of course, following the bankruptcy to bring about accountability and justice here, frankly.
Ron is at the mic at the Boston Public Library with a question for the Attorney General. Welcome, Ron. Nice to have you.
Thank you. It's Rob.
Rob. Well, can we hear from Ron then instead first? Sorry, Rob. My apologies.
It's okay. Thanks for this opportunity.
Is it Rob?
It's Rob.
B with a B, yes.
Rob, before you do that, just a note. If folks in Vantage, because I think it was it Caroline?
Caroline from Fairhaven, yeah.
Still, there are some folks obviously who were not made whole. I would still encourage them to call the office because the office can still help direct them on how they might be able to get involved in the bankruptcy proceeding to be able to get money back. So call the office, still engage, and we will continue to do our part to see what we can do.
Great.
Hi, Rob.
It's
how are
all
you?
yours.
Thank you. I signed a contract on March 30th last year with Momentum to have a solar system put on my house.
That's right.
And at the time, I told them that everything in my house was going to be electric. I was going to have heat pumps. I wanted to have 2 EV chargers, and I have 60 amp service going into my house. They scheduled me on June 24th to put solar panels on the evening before because initially they said they were only going to put 15 on. My heat pump company guy, who also does solar, said you should have the south side of your roof covered with solar panels, which is 29. So the rep that I spoke to, I told him that I wanted 29. He said, okay, you got to sign another DocuSign to go forward. I did that. The next morning, he contacted me about the MPU that I needed to go from 60 up to where I can hook this stuff in. And he basically threatened me that if I didn't sign another DocuSign with the increased cost, they wouldn't do it. I didn't end up signing it. He sent it to the wrong email address, so I couldn't do it. They literally were in my yard. They had panels set up. They were ready to go. They packed everything up and they left. They rescheduled me for August 5th. I got a call on August 3rd saying, nope, we're not going to be there on the 5th. I said, when are you going to be there? Wouldn't tell me. Then they called me days later, said, okay, we'll be there on September 12th, and we'll do it. I get home from work on September 12th. Sure enough, the guys are on my roof. They're finishing up the solar panels. I said, where's the guy doing the MPU? He's like, hey, I'm the panel guy. I'm not the electrician. I don't know. After a number of phone calls, I finally get a hold of somebody, and he says, okay, somebody be out on November 21st to do the MPU. I'm like, buddy, everything in my house is electric. I have a heat pump system that can't be hooked up because the MPU hasn't been done. I live in Massachusetts. This has to be done. He says, I'm sorry, that's our first open day.
Rob, what's the question?
Question is, I'd like the AG's office to have a division or whatever that handles solar system problems. I tried with your predecessor. That got tapped out. I tried with the Better Business Bureau. That got tapped out. Lawyer would be $390 an hour.
Yeah.
It's, do I want to lose my $14,000 to the solar company or to a lawyer?
Yep.
We got it.
No, I get
Can you
it,
help?
Rob. And so I know we were involved a little bit in Rob's case, and it's unfortunate, and went through several stages where I think we were going to get some terms changed and a couple of things. And I think Rob is right. We have been stressing, and we try to include some of this information on our website, but there's more to do to get this information out there. Whether it's solar panel companies, competitive electric supply companies, anyone who's coming to your door that you're inviting in for these new products, they're complex contracts, they can be. To read that fine print, to do your best to understand it, and if not, we're trying to think about, because we have to be careful, we can't give direct legal advice, but who can we work with legal aid organizations to be able to make sure that folks have places to go to ask information about these contracts. We recognize that there's some provisions in Rob's contract that were troubling. I also know now that you're in the stage where we now have to get you to a private lawyer like you just described to be able to get some level of accountability or justice from this, which is, yep.
I get a phone call from the 21st person that I've interacted with at Momentum Solar, trying to explain to me like what's going on. And I said, I'm not having a phone call, send me an email. I've since found you have to have everything in writing. Because they told me stuff on the phone, and I refused to deal with them on the phone.
If I may, the question is, can you help Rob? I mean, can the office help Rob?
So we have, but no, I think Rob's question is bigger than that. So we have, and we sort of come to a point where now we're saying Rob has to get a private lawyer for the other piece, and particularly with the loan company. So we have in many ways. But there is the bigger piece of what Rob's talking about, which is as you are engaging with solar companies and you're signing contracts, you want to be reading the fine print. You want to have in writing what is being promised via telephone and any other avenue, what you want and agree to before you sign that contract. And if you need someone to review that, we're happy to make referrals to lawyers. We're happy to offer information. We put information on our website as well as to what people should look out for. They should do that before they sign that contract.
Rob, thank you. We wish you luck.
Yeah, thank you.
I know you care.
But I want to add one thing, because it's bigger than solar. It goes to the whole scams conversation. I just had a full briefing on cryptocurrency. And if you're engaged at all with cryptocurrency, wow. There's a lot to be afraid of, frankly. And I am blessed to work with folks who have significant expertise. And so the question I have and keep putting out for our office is, how do we get out this information, this expertise that we have, as to how you can safeguard your information, your resources, et cetera, and not be taken advantage of. So through our community engagement division and other things, we're thinking about how to do that. Even with student loan debt, there's such expertise in the office. You can call, and we just had someone nearly write off over $240,000 of their debt after calling our office and working with our office and getting technical support. But we know we have to reach more people, and that webinars would do that, but we have to be more comprehensive. And so we're actively thinking about what that looks like, what partnership looks like, how we strengthen our regional offices so that you can go into an office in a community, you can go into our mediation centers and our local programs that are funded by the office. So more to come on that, because it's a broader issue of people having access to just basic information as they're going through a solar issue, student loan debt, or something else. So more to come.
Attorney General, I think people who know you and know your history know that both personally and professionally, the inequity in the criminal justice system is probably at the top of your list of concerns. Barry Scheck, who's the co-founder of the Innocence Project, was with us the other day, and it was days after a woman, Rosa Jimenez, was exonerated after almost 20 years in jail in Texas for murdering a baby in her care, which she did not do. In Texas, I believe it's something like 3 months after an exoneration, you're entitled to $80,000 a year for every single year that you're incarcerated, and a whole host of other benefits without having to file a suit and go through all this kind of crap that we have to go through in the Commonwealth. There's no $1 million cap like there is here. Here's what Barry Scheck had to say to us the other day about the comparison, to a degree, between Texas and Massachusetts.
And yes, it is tragic what's happened to many of the Massachusetts exonerees. This should be a faster and better process. And frankly, when the Massachusetts statute was passed, I remember it distinctly, we did put some provisions in it. But putting up all these hurdles to get immediate compensation is cruel.
We've spoken to people on the show who've spent decades in jail who are waiting and waiting and waiting and were exonerated for compensation. This is where Representative Worrell comes in. Senator Jalen and Representative Worrell and some others are sponsoring legislation to remove the $1 million cap, to speed, I don't want to go through all the details, but to essentially reform the compensation system for exonerees so that, I can't believe I'm saying this, so we're as fair as Texas. I don't think I've ever said that before in my life.
Because they come out of jail with nothing.
Exactly,
Right.
and no
Nothing.
skills and no whatever. I mean, despite, do you support this?
So I support lifting the cap. We currently have, I hired someone who is actively working on and has been since I took office on looking at the whole wrongful conviction process.
Great.
The process itself, the legislation, of course, having conversations with folks about what is fair in terms of compensation. And of course, the advocates we're talking to know what's happening in Texas and other states. So we will have plans and ideas and thoughts in specifics very soon on how to revamp that process. And we're also meeting, of course, I feel like I'm at the State House all the time. So more to come. And I agree with you. It's too bureaucratic. And it's the cap is ridiculous.
Would you oppose, I mean, your predecessor,
Or it's unreasonable,
in the
I should
case,
say.
a high-profile case, Fred Weichel, opposed compensation at a very modest level, and he ended up getting millions from a court. Would you oppose compensation is your role as Attorney General under existing law for any person who is exonerated by
Well,
court?
I would say every case is different. And so I don't know all the details of the previous administration and how they made their decisions. But what I do know is from putting aside individual cases, the process is too bureaucratic. It is, in many ways, as some recently described to me who are going through this now, that their person who was wrongfully accused is deceased. The challenge that is for them. And in addition to that, how the compensation is not fair or reasonable. And I think there is a lot of reforms that we can make, and we're going to do just that.
That guy, by the way, one of the three founders of the Exoneree Network, it's Sean Ellis, who did get compensation.
That's Took him a right.
while, though.
Victor Rosario, both of them have been on our
Yep.
show. Ray Champagne, the co-founder,
Right.
41 years in jail, died without having gotten a penny.
When I said a
41
recent
years.
conversation, it
Yeah.
was really with respect to Ray.
It's with him. Okay.
Stacy from Westford, you are on with the Attorney
Stacey.
General, Andrea Campbell. Go
Hey,
ahead,
Stacey.
Stacy. Thanks for calling.
Hi, thank you very much.
Sure.
My concern is the issue with Mass Health. There's clearly a serious fraud issue. The auditor found $85 million in out-of-state payments. There was recently a $45 million embezzlement case that was given a suspended sentence. And then his wife went on to embezzle over $100 million from Mass Health. Is something finally going to be done about this?
So thank you for the question, Stacy. A few things. Obviously, the Inspector General, the auditor, my office, we all work together. We have different lanes, but we do come together when it comes to fraud. And we will continue to think about how we work on those issues together. But the office is always taking on fraud, whether it's Mass Health or any resources that come from the Commonwealth and are given to someone, and they're taking advantage of those resources, or providing a service but submitting, say, false claims. And I'll just give you one example reached just this month. Through our Healthcare Fair Competition Bureau, we reached a $2.6 million settlement with an ambulance company, a large ambulance company, that was submitting false claims to Mass Health and getting resources as a result of that. And so each of us, I think, and other state agencies are taking this on in different ways and will continue to, because we understand that one of our major responsibilities is to steward the money responsibly for taxpayers.
877-301-8970 is the number to call or to text the Attorney General of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. We have a question from Brianna, who identifies herself as a systems change advocate at Stavros Center for Independent Living. This may be a good question for Mary Freely, your new elder affairs person, but she says, I'm wondering how Attorney General Campbell's office is planning to take action regarding the recent closures and violations of nursing home residents' rights in 4 nursing homes in Western Massachusetts. I believe those nursing homes closed very, very quickly, and
Yes.
people were scrambling to find out where they were going to put their family members.
And it would be an issue that Mary, through the Elder Justice Unit, would be involved with. Mary, frankly, has been involved with these specific conversations and has been the point with the governor's administration on what responsibility they had to community, to constituents, to residents in terms of closure. And so we are still working on that. I will tell you, it is an unfortunate situation, but a lot of it also exists with the administration. And so more to come on that, but we are mindful of it. We are in touch with folks in Western Mass. We're in touch with the administration, and we're going to do our part to hold people accountable, especially when they are violating notice requirements or anything else when it comes to closure.
Andrea Campbell, I think I read you quoted in the, I think it was in the Globe, in the matter of the Supreme Court essentially staying enforcement, for lack of a better expression, of the resolution of the bankruptcy proceeding around Purdue, the Sackler family, et cetera. And for those who haven't followed it, essentially by paying $6 million, they're getting immunity from all future suits. The Supreme Court arguably has a problem. Please correct me if I'm misstating this. Arguably, at least wants to look at that issue. That's the good news from my perspective, because they're getting away with billions of their own money and getting immunity. The bad news is it's going to slow down payments to governments, to individuals, et cetera. You know, one of the things that's hard, when Maura Healey was the Attorney General, we learned she was the first Attorney General in America to actually sue the Sacklers in their individual capacity, not just through Purdue, which I thought was great. And what we would always ask her and her predecessor, Martha Copley, why don't you go after the big boys who were the leaders of this operation, who were billionaires living? And the argument was always they insulate themselves. There's always plausible deniability. There's a former president who was charged with a RICO violation the other day in Georgia. Have you or any of your colleagues ever thought about using the racketeering? So, I mean, the whole purpose of that is to get to the person at the top. Have you thought about the possibility of bringing, even if the settlement goes in, it doesn't preclude criminal charges being filed. If they could be filed, is that an avenue potentially to bring criminal liability to these people responsible for killing tens of thousands of Americans?
I think we should always explore all options. And but I wanted to say a few points.
Sure.
One is this idea of what it means to go after the powerful who are taking advantage of either poor people, exploiting them through all types of economic strategies, and to pull wealth out of communities. We know poor communities are targeted in that regard. We know the same is true when we look at our nursing home cases and our long-term care facility cases. Folks understaffed. There are certain decisions that are made within these facilities that lead to the residents having inadequate health care, that lead to abuse and neglect. We are taking on those cases every day. And we're always thinking about how do we go after the powerful that are allowed to shield themselves because of either resources, attorneys, or other things, because we do want to hold them accountable. This office is about justice and defining what that looks like, informed by the people who are being harmed. And so as we take on our development of our strategic plan, which we will at some point release, people will see that theme throughout of how do we use all the tools in the office, including our litigation tools, both criminally and civilly, to go after folks who are preying on people in different ways, taking advantage of them, harming them. With respect to the Sackler family, Purdue Farmer, of course, that decision holds up the resources that we want to get out. But there are more settlements coming down the pipe in the office very soon that will be approved, where we will get more money over the course of almost 2 decades. And now our job is to make sure people are aware of that we're working with municipalities on ways to actually invest that money to end this crisis. And there are community-based organizations all across the state doing that. And doing it in such a way that people are informed, where the investment of that money is not being used for things that are not going to be helpful. So there's a lot to do. There's a lot of money out there. Working with the administration, we'll make sure that we actually continue the work that my predecessor started in this regard.
We're talking to Andrea Campbell. She's the Attorney General for a few more minutes here today for Ask the Attorney General.
Let's go to Ginny in Northborough. Thank you for calling, Ginny.
Hey, Ginny.
Ginny.
Hello. I'm calling because my husband and I have contributed to long-term care insurance for many, many years now. And the prices keep going up, and, we know that it has to be approved by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And it's getting to the point where I don't know that we can continue to afford it. They offer us the option of cutting back on what we get for our money, but it's a pretty significant cut on what we could expect to get. And it's really hard after paying thousands of dollars to just see this premium go up and up to a point that we might either have to let it go or really reduce the kind of care we could count on when we need it. And I just wonder if Massachusetts, if we can get the insurance commission to actually not always agree to push up the premium.
First of all, Jenny, thank you for the call, because it's very important. I would love if you stay on the line to connect with Lauren, who is here from my team, just to specifically connect with you on you and your husband's specific case. But on the broader issue of affordability, and I have been stressing this, yes, we prosecute cases. We are paying attention to the Supreme Court, which we think is going in the wrong direction on so many issues, and we will continue to be at the forefront of that. But the number one issue that people are talking about in Massachusetts, and maybe in this country, is affordability. They can't afford their health care, products, food, child care, their housing, you name it. In our office, we'll continue to be at the forefront. Right now, we are putting money back into the pockets of so many people, of workers, taking on employers who are not paying folks. We're taking on scams, all of that abuse through every tool. But I'm also pushing the office to be proactive. There is a way to look at, whether it's insurance companies or others, and what's driving these costs. And we have an incredible healthcare division that is doing remarkable work. Sandy is incredible. She is at the forefront of this work. And so the question is, what can we do, and how do we leverage all of our tools to be able to make a difference in this regard? So more to come. And when I talked about the strategic plan, why this is important, we could go in a whole bunch of different directions. We want a plan that is thoughtful, that an average resident could read and understand. There will be a bucket of affordability issues under it, and specific things that we think we can take on to address the affordability issue in the context of healthcare, in the context of housing, in the context of what affects our workers, and so many others.
Jenny, do not go away. Stay on hold, and we will take your contact information and give it to the Attorney General's office. Thank you for your call.
Attorney General, the Baker administration passed this thing called the MBTA Communities Act, the idea that 177 communities around eastern Massachusetts where they have MBTA stations need to pass new zoning to create denser housing there. And there are some communities that have objected to that. Now the state is threatening to withhold lots of money from those states that object. So those towns or cities that object. So which towns are objecting, and what's going to happen to them?
Well, I will say, we put out, I felt like this was in week one on the job, an advisory from the AG's office specifically saying to all municipalities that have this public good that you have to comply with this law, this MBTA communities law, and that it is not optional, it is mandatory. So there were some municipalities that weren't thinking about complying and saying, well, you can just keep your money state, we're not going to comply. Sorry, it doesn't work like that. You have to comply. And we have a housing crisis that's affecting so many folks, including our elders and working folks. And even how we define who's being affected by the housing crisis is public employees, it's teachers, it is elders, it is, of course, folks who are just starting a new job, folks who are graduating from college. And this is a crisis the whole state has to address. And this legislation, passed in a bipartisan effort, is a powerful tool. So every municipality is currently in compliance except for one. I want to give credit, though, because there are many municipalities that maybe in the beginning appeared like they weren't going to comply, but they needed more technical assistance. They had questions, but they have been working with us. They have been working with the administration to come into compliance phase by phase. Kudos to Lexington that is moving forward and doing remarkable work. And I actually had a developer that previously did some work in my former council district that now has a project there that's moving forward, and the excitement you're hearing in that community and others. And then the one community that is not on board yet, we're in communication with.
What is
and
it?
That Holden. And we're in communication. And I will say that communication has been working. And so we don't want to bring a lawsuit where we don't have to. We have said since the very beginning, we want to work in partnership with municipalities to get this done. We want to make sure you have the tools, the resources, all of that to be able to comply. And if for some reason there is a municipality that continues to want to hold out for all the wrong reasons, then of course we will do what's necessary in terms of litigation. But I don't think we're there yet. I think we really are in this space of working with folks to bring more housing online.
So when do you think this might happen? I mean, how long does it take to do this? We're talking about a lot of housing right around where the T-stops are and these different, or the train
Well,
stops
it's
are on
moving
these
now.
different...
I mean, there is various benchmarks and implementation dates for these municipalities to submit plans to the state. And they are doing that. And they're actively reviewing these plans to say, thank you for what you submitted. You need a little bit more here and there. And so we are working on that. And some municipalities obviously working faster than others in terms of actual construction or signing of purchase and sales agreements. That's wonderful. So more to take. But that's just one piece of the solution. There's a lot more we can do when it comes to housing and to make sure that people have adequate housing and access to adequate housing in the state.
We know you got to go in a couple of minutes. We're talking to
I
Andre.
went by really fast.
Well, Campbell, well, you're not done yet. We were talking to Chuck Todd from Meet the Press yesterday, and one of us, I can't remember who, said what BS it is when all these law enforcement officials around the country are saying Donald Trump is being treated like any other defendant, no different. We treat him the same way, even though he is putting the lives of judges and prosecutors and grand juries at risk because he is allowed to disparage them, call prosecutors racist, all black, by the way, who are racist. For example, in Georgia, as I'm sure you know, mandatory minimum sentence for the racketeering charge is 5 years. So if he's convicted, he goes to jail. There are a lot of people who think Trump is guilty of all 91 charges against him, think he should be convicted, but don't think he should go to jail because even though jail would be equal treatment, that it's not good for the democracy. Where are you on that issue? Should he be convicted?
It's not good for democracy.
Well,
I don't know about that, but I will say, we say this all the time, no one is above the law. And if anything, there are folks who are in positions of power that have access to resources or lawyers or other things to be able to shield them from accountability and from justice. Kudos to folks who are going after folks they deem to be in violation of law and to be in violation of the rule of law and to also be in violation of democratic principles that hold this country together when it comes to what an election integrity looks like. These indictments are scary. This is scary business. I believe in the rule of law. The people in the office I work with believe in the rule of law. They also believe, of course, in democracy. We want to continue to be a model of what that looks like. So if you violate laws and violate these principles, not only should you be held accountable, if the law says after your conviction and after a trial and process that you should go to jail, then you should go to jail.
On that note,
Attorney General,
nice to see you.
thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. I really appreciate it.
And thank you to the crowd. And keep enjoying the summer. We have a few more days
That's
left.
right,
Lauren,
a few more
thank
days.
you.
It's going to
Mary,
warm
thank
up this weekend, supposedly.
Thank you.
We've been talking with
See you
Attorney
next
General
month.
Andrea Campbell, and we thank her very much for being with us. By the way, the straight number to call is 617-727-8400. That's the general number, I think, for up there at the
Is that it?
Attorney
Lauren saying
General's office.
yes?
Yeah, okay. Attorney General, thank you very much again for coming in. Really appreciate it. Coming up, we're very excited about this. We spoke with them once before.
Wait, you weren't excited about her?
Well, I am excited about her. I am excited about Andrea Campbell.
I'm not that
but
excited about him.
I've
I
seen
was
this
really
guy a
excited
few
about
times
her.
on television, and he's a pretty funny guy. Comedian, great comedian, impressionist Jay Farrow is here, ahead of 2 local shows at the Wilbur Theater and Foxwoods. Jay Farrow is next. You're listening to Boston Public Radio, 89.7 GBH. We are broadcasting live from the Boston Public Library and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News and facebook.com/GBH News.
Welcome back to Boston Public Radio. I'm Jim Browdy. She is Marge Regan. We're live at the Boston Public Library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News, facebook.com/GBH News. What do you mean, yeah?
Yeah, that's how I do my intro. I'm like, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
fine. Thank you.
Yeah, man.
That's the voice of comedian, actor, impressionist, and yeah guy, SNL alum Jay Farrell.
The yeah guy.
Now, there's a lot you can say about this man. One thing you cannot accuse Jay Farrell of is being slow to promote upcoming shows. You know what Groucho Marx once said? He said, there's nothing like good planning, and this is nothing like good planning. Because I was about to say, I cannot believe you're promoting 2 shows at the Wilbur in January of next year, but I heard you're going to New Hampshire in a couple of days.
Yeah,
and then I was going to say you couldn't talk about SNL because of the writers and the SAG-AFTRA strike. I was wrong about that too.
Right.
So in any case, Jay Farrell, it's good to see you.
Hey,
Thank you very much for being here.
Yeah.
It's good to be here.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I love this crowd, man. I know everybody in this crowd can get a discount at Golden Corral.
That's right. That's
This is amazing. I love it.
Including me, by the way.
I love it. No, look, I got the Hokas now. I'm officially, like, yeah.
You and Jim.
That's right.
He's got them too.
He's got the.
If I could raise my leg, I would do that, by the way.
He's got the swaggy ones. He's got the color ones. I've got the regular, boring ones, but they're still Hokas. These, you feel like you jumping.
You got the high arches?
Yeah.
You got high arches?
I know I have no arches. I'm flat-footed.
Oh, so I can wear them too, because I got no arches either. We have something in common.
Yeah.
No arches.
I like these, man. I don't know if I'm about to land a plane or play Call of Duty. This is amazing.
It's pretty cool.
Look, okay, all right. Let's talk about the tour, because I do tonight. I am going to be at the Seabrook. See, I got to pull
He's
this up.
checking on his
I'm
phone,
checking up. I'll be at the Brook Casino tonight. Tomorrow, I'm going to be at the Aura in Portland, Maine. Then I'm going to be in Bar Harbor at the Centurion.
Oh my gosh.
Criterion Theater on Sunday.
You know what I say to that?
Yeah.
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 That's why I say that. Is that okay?
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm working, man.
So Jim mentioned before that you didn't want us to mention SNL and that people may a lot of know you from there, but we can talk about it, I guess. But what I want to ask you seriously
Has anybody ever told you you look like Nicole Kidman?
Whoa!
Oh my God!
Has anybody said that to you?
I love you.
I swear, I'm like, yo, Margaret looks like Nicole Kidman.
Marjorie.
Close
Marjorie.
enough. I don't care what you call me if I look like Nicole Kidman.
Marjorie. I'm sorry, Marjorie. You look like Nicole Kidman.
I tell you, Tom Cruise called me before he called Nicole,
He did?
but it didn't quite work out.
Oh man, well I think you dodged the bullet. That man is off his rocker.
Yeah,
but
he's a little
great.
crazy.
He's great though.
But let's talk about something serious. I mean, there is a serious strike going on out in California, which is affecting everything: television, the writers, the people that support the industry. And I know you've been very involved and very supportive. So tell us what's going on. Why are people striking, and why should we be on board?
Basically, what we're striking for is we want streaming residuals, and also the AI is using people's likeness, and they're not getting paid for it. So streaming, like television, of course, people have already had contracts in place, and the residuals are set there. But when it comes to streaming, it's just the wild, wild west. So you'll do a movie and you'll get paid $250,000 or $500,000 or whatever you get, and that's it. You don't get any residuals from it. And it's very important for residuals because that's for your legacy. That's for the people who you're going to create. That's for your family. That's your legacy. That's what you leave here. So that's what we're fighting for. I don't know if you've seen The Flash, but there was a whole bunch of cameos in that movie from people who weren't even in the movie.
Yeah.
So those folks aren't getting paid.
Well, you know what I was stunned to hear too, or read it, wherever I heard it, that a lot of actors, you think of actors making like $500,000, $1 million, $2 million, but a lot of actors make like $20,000 a year or $25,000 a year.
Yeah.
And then if they have to reach a certain level to pay for to get their health insurance paid for.
You look at Billy Porter, an Emmy winner, like he's saying that he's going broke.
Losing his house, he said.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even imagine him doing it. I'm like, you have so much success, but that's where it's important. That's where the importance of us striking comes from, for those people and the other writers who are getting paid peanuts. I'm a writer as well. I write on Family Guy too, and I'm on the show too. But I have multiple jobs. I'm pretty much a Jamaican. I have a lot of jobs. You know what I'm saying? I'm blood clot. I have a lot of jobs. Got a lot of jobs here. Look at the dude looking at me like, yeah, say something better. But it is so dire that we get out here and we do stand strong with the union, with SAG-AFTRA, because we need a change, and it needs to change.
By the way, speaking of Family Guy, you play a corrupt lawyer, the only corrupt lawyer in America, not working for Trump. Is that really amazing? So when your communications person said to our staff person, the thing you wanted to really talk about was who was the biggest a-hole at SNL. So go ahead. Who was the biggest a-hole at SNL?
The host or the
you can
people
pick anybody you want.
Should I really give this out?
Oh yeah,
right
why
now?
not?
Oh, absolutely.
Come on.
Look at that. Ooh, yeah, go ahead, say it.
Who was it?
I want to know.
Come on.
You know, as far as host goes, you know, I'm a person who treats everybody equally. Oh. So I've seen some people not treat folks.
Like who?
The initials are JB. He's a
Jim Browdy?
No, that's me. I haven't been the host.
I mean, of course, in addition to. Nah, but JB.
Just say it. Who is it?
I listen, man. You can. I'll sing one of his songs.
Okay, go ahead.
Is it too late now to say sorry? Yeah, there you go. You know what I'm talking about.
No, I
There you go. Look up. He's like, yeah. There you go. They're looking.
Oh, Bieber?
Why? Because you don't like Canadians,
Bieber?
or
No,
what's
I love Canadians.
Really? Oh, you do?
He was, you know, like I said, maybe he was having a bad. I don't know, but he wasn't as nice to the staff. And I
That's
looked at
terrible.
Yeah.
Little teen boy.
Yeah.
So without looking at your phone, where you're performing the next few days?
Without looking at my phone.
You have no idea,
Like I
right?
said, the Centurion, I'm performing there.
Exactly.
I'm performing at the Brooks Casino, and I'm performing at the Aura.
Well, that's pretty good.
Hey, man, look, you tested me, but I keep doing
you did
it.
really
You know
well.
what I mean?
So,
dude, man.
last time we talked to you, Jay Farrow, of all the wonderful stories you told us, the story that Marjorie and I talk about quite often in your absence is when you had, at least in my estimation, the most terrifying thing that any comedian can have, when you were Barack Obama in front of Barack Obama.
Oh, man.
What was that like?
I was super arduous. That's how it was.
Yeah.
I was scared out of my wits because Barack, man, you see him in person. He's a big dude in person. His head is so big. Like, I get why he's the president. So there's a lot of knowledge in there. His head is huge.
I think of his ears being huge. I think of his head being huge.
Yeah, but
Big brain.
you got to see the face first.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You do.
He was, so I was doing the impression. I'm checking and looking over the whole time to make sure that he's good with it. And I kept looking as I'm doing it. He was like, well, you're doing pretty good. I mean, you're doing a good job. If you want this job, you can have it because this is quite stressful. I went from Jet Black to Cisco in 4 years. You see this?
You got it perfect.
Hey, man.
You got it perfect.
Just going into it. I love Barack.
Oh, my
You know what?
God.
I've met him. Trump has got Asperger's and Tourette's syndrome.
He does.
He says whatever comes to his head. He doesn't care to be like, you're fat, ugly, and disgusting, and that's just the way it is. And he always does this, like he's got a hot meatball in his mouth and he can't get it to cool off. If he would have walked up to the podium and just been like, because he says whatever, my daughter is the sexiest thing ever created. God, if I wasn't her father, wow. This is television, people, it's television, people. We're not going to say too much, but we're going to say enough, absolutely. The seal hands, you have to take into account. The seal hands, ork. Trump's going to be in jail like this. They just braided my hair, everything's beautiful. It's phenomenal, I've got cornrows now, I've got 2 teardrops because I've killed 2 people. Oh, I can't say that, huh? We'll beat that out. All right. Too late. It's live. All right. Let's go, GBH.
We're talking to Jay Farrow.
Can I ask you kind of a dumb question?
No, it's not dumb. Go ahead.
How do you do this? Do you
Oh, my God.
Well, I know, I do.
Yeah.
Do you watch people and then
I
you
study them. I study everything about somebody. I look at people, the way they walk. I look at their little tics and things. But
Yeah.
I'm just a freak. There we go.
But how long does it take you? How long does it take you to get like Trump down or Obama down? Is it like days or weeks?
Nah,
or?
it's like it's an ongoing process.
Yeah.
The key to it is never feeling like that you never feeling like you've mastered one, so you'll keep on digging and trying to get better at it. And that's what I've done. Because my Trump wasn't that good 4 years ago. Oh no, because I didn't even pay. I was like, man, I'm not paying attention to Trump. And then I started watching. I was like, ha ha, hilarious. So
what makes people easier or harder to imitate?
It makes it easier if I'm already a fan.
Okay.
Because I'm super familiar.
Yeah.
But then the folks that I really haven't watched too much, you know, it's a bit harder. The process is longer. I'll just have to make that concerted effort to get that person.
But the seal hands,
Yeah.
he does that.
Absolutely,
He does that.
the seal.
All hands. All the
So he's
time.
about to do a Kamehameha wave or something.
Oh my God. By the way, do we have information, since he is not being that precise about where he's going?
I am.
When we say goodbye to him, are we going to be able to say, get tickets?
Yeah, you should.
We are, okay. You don't have to keep looking at your phone. We'll deal with it.
Look, Brooks Casino tonight.
Yeah.
Tonight.
So
Tonight. Come out there. That's in New Hampshire. I'm going to be in Maine tomorrow.
New
at the
Hampshire's a big
Aura.
place.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
it is.
Yeah, big
It is.
So where in New Hampshire is that exactly?
he's looking on his phone.
Listen, man. Listen, Seabrook. Look, go to my website. Go to
Yeah,
jfarrellworld.com.
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 So when you were
You
little,
trying to trip me up?
By the way,
It's
she is totally in love. It's because of the thing about what's her face
that's right.
before. Look
Tell
at
me
her.
I look like Nicole.
Look at her.
I'll follow you anywhere.
Oh, my
so I
God.
want to know, when you were little Jay Farrow,
Yeah.
I mean, was this like in third grade? You were funny and people laughed at you, or how did this all begin?
I was cracking on the teachers in third grade, but
Yeah.
this started when I was 6 years old.
Really?
That's when I did my first impression.
Who'd you do?
Gilbert Godfrey.
Oh God, I
Yeah.
remember Gilbert Godfrey.
That guy, yeah. But you know, I hadn't gone through puberty yet, so it's really harder now to do it. You know what I mean? Now that they've dropped. However, like back then, it was just so spot on. And my girlfriend at the time, she had told me, she was like, "Oh my God, you're so good at impersonating Iago. You should keep going with that." And I was 6. Yeah, I had a girlfriend at 6. Hey, girls ain't never have cooties to me. I ain't never believe in no cooties.
Yeah.
Are you old enough to remember Mr. Ed? I think I did this when I met you.
Mr. Ed.
You don't know the horse show?
Jim has
I
been
remember
practicing.
It's the only imitation I can do.
I remember him talking with his teeth.
What is? Can I do it for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wilbur, open the door. Is that what's that?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Thank you. That was it.
Give it a
No, you
practicing.
didn't give it anything, actually. You gave
He's
it
been
nothing.
practicing like for 3 days.
No,
He's
can we
not
talk
even
about another
coming in
imitation
here.
you do? I love Denzel Washington. I don't want you. I don't care if you,
You know
do
what's
Denzel.
crazy, man?
What?
I had to stop doing Denzel around my mom because she was getting hot. You know what I mean? I had to stop doing it. You know, I keep because it's so mesmerizing for her. She'll be like, "Oh, that Denzel," and I'm like, "All right, okay, well, just know I'm your son now. I came out of you. You understand? Huh? I am your son. Say it with me, Ramona. He is your son. That's what you should say, right? Huh? Okay.
Do you
I
know
you're getting
him?
hot. Huh?
Do you know him?
Yeah, I did. I met him. I don't know him personally, but I did meet him at the AFI Lifetime Achievement Award. And I was so sad because at the actual ceremony, I kept going up to his table and he just kept walking away. I was like, yo, man, does he feel me? Like, you know what I mean? Does he know that I'm walking up to him? So at the end of the night, I didn't meet him. And I go across the street to the after party. And I'm so bummed. I'm telling everybody, I'm like, yo, man, I didn't meet Denzel. And they're like, well, stay right here because he's about to walk in. As soon as he walks in, he sees me, he goes, oh, you owe me a lot of money, brother. You know that, right? Yeah, you owe me a lot of money. Yeah, that's right. I'm keeping you hot. That's what I'm doing. Yeah. And you're a lot taller than I thought, too. I didn't know you were this tall. And you got an arm. You got an arm on you. Kind of strong. Okay, all right. And so, and then we were talking, and we took a picture. It was so funny because the photographer was in our face, and we were conversing. We had this dialogue, and then as soon as the flash came, we both turned at the same time and did this cool thing like. And then we both turned around. Oh man, I was like, yeah, I just got some of the sexy, yeah.
Yeah, so he made eye contact with you then, because that's what you hear, that he won't make eye contact with people.
No.
Well,
in contracts, if you work on a Denzel film,
you can't look
you
at
have
him.
to say you will not make eye contact with Denzel Washington. What do you think about that?
Are you serious?
I'm total. Am I look serious?
Yeah.
Who do I look like if she looks like what's her face?
Dude, just
a guy.
Just an older white dude. I don't know what to say.
You know,
that's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me.
You know
That's
what?
beautiful.
You look like Jason Statham's uncle.
Who the hell is he?
You don't know Jason Statham?
Who is he?
Jason Statham, he's a guy that talks like this. He's the transporter. Oh yeah, I'll stand on top of your corpse and beat you down until there's nothing left except for a skeleton and blood.
That's Jason Statham.
And his uncle?
Yeah, his uncle. Because
His
you look,
uncle.
I mean, you look kind of like him, but like just evolved.
Yeah, I got it. It's evolved.
You know what I mean? Like,
no, I don't know what
We
you're
can go to the
couple
early
more
bird
years.
special, Jim. We can go to Cracker Barrel ourselves.
Oh, actually,
at 4
wait
o'clock
a
and
second.
eat
Is
dinner.
this Jason Statham or is this his uncle?
That's Jason Statham, man.
What, does his uncle look that good or no?
I don't know. I've never seen his uncle, but I'm saying, like, if he had an uncle, that's how that's how I think it would look.
Oh, God.
Okay.
Look, man, I've been called everybody. They've said I look like, I've heard Eddie Murphy, I've heard Gerard Carmichael, I've heard Michael Che, I've heard Chris Rock, I've heard Anthony Mackie, I've heard people tell me, hey man, I love you in the Falcon. I'm like, that's not me, man.
Okay, can I ask you to do something?
Yeah.
Well, if
Do
you
you
don't
hate
mind.
that when people ask you to do something? Tell the truth. Really tell the truth.
Doesn't
You hate
matter
it, right?
now. I mean, look, it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, you know, the voices or whatever, they took somebody away from whatever they were thinking about in their life, you know what I mean? So whatever bad thing they would think about in their life, they watch my video and they escape from it. So now I don't feel
That's
bad
right.
when people asking me. I feel like it's just you know.
And we watched you this morning with Howard Stern.
Oh,
you
you
know,
did?
we're not as famous as Howard Stern.
Absolutely. Howard Stern. I love Howard. Howard is just so phenomenal. He's just that guy that's just like, Jay, I love your impersonations. I love everything about you. Do you want to touch the doll? Touch the doll.
But go ahead, but what were you saying?
That was very good.
Yeah.
Well, you do both Will Smith and Chris Rock.
Yeah.
Of course, they had a little altercation a while back at the Academy Awards, but we forgive everybody involved.
Yeah. How dare him do that? How dare him hit that man? Chris Rock, how dare Will Smith do that, man? Will Smith is 6'2", 200 pounds. Chris Rock is 5'10", 25 pounds. You can't do that. That's just mean. You can't do that. And then say, why would you smack? You gonna smack a man on the big? First of all, you gonna smack another black man the night that the black people are producing the show.
That's right.
Like that's crazy to me. But that's the most disrespectful thing you can do is smack somebody or spit on them or smash their wife. Those are the most disrespectful things you could do. And I feel like, as I'm teeing this thing up, okay, cool, let's just get into it. You know what? Like, I'm so sorry about everything that I did. You know, I've definitely felt like a difference in, in my pockets. You know, like people aren't like pulling up like, Chris, do you forgive me?
Hell no, I don't forgive you. No, I don't forgive you. You smacked me on national television, okay? When I smack you, it's gonna be like this. And then you're gonna feel it. You're gonna get the seal hand.
You know, Chris got the fingers, you know what I mean? He's got those, he's throwing up gang signs. I don't know what gang he's in.
I didn't know
He's in a gang. He's cripping blood. He's just doing. It's the fingers, man. It's the give me more food, Tiny Tim fingers. You know what I'm saying? The food glorious food fingers. That's what he does. And he constantly tries to. But how dare, man? I pray for both of those brothers. I hope they get it together. But you can't be smacking people on national television.
So what do you think is going to happen to resolve this mess out in Hollywood? When do you think it's going to happen? Do you think it's going to be a fair ending, or do you think it's going to be a nasty
I think everybody's going to end
mess?
up getting paid. Everybody's going to end up on Dwayne Johnson's salary. That's what I think.
You think so?
Everybody's going to end up on a Rock salary. That's what. He's donated enough money. He's the biggest actor in the world, so he can do it. So.
Well, you know what killed me?
Hey, Pop, I look forward to seeing you.
What's the guy named Inger, whatever the guy that owns Disney or something?
Iger.
Like that? Iger, whatever his
Bob
name is.
Iger, yeah.
When I heard
It's not
he had a 185-foot yacht,
Yeah.
and then he wanted to get the 210-foot yacht, and I thought in the middle of this strike, I thought that the money those guys at the very top of the food chain make is like unbelievable.
And that's why we're striking, because there's too much money. We're going to Robin Hood that thing. That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
You understand? We're going to go there. The people that's y'all making billions of dollars and only paying people millions, we're going to get in there.
I think a 185-foot yacht is big enough, don't you think?
I think it is. I think we should all move there. That's what we should do.
Exactly.
So,
Rather than be moving and living there.
So, could you do Jason Statham for us before you go? Is that what his name is?
I did Jason Statham.
You did?
Like 6 minutes ago.
Oh, you did? I was there for that. I forgot. It was his uncle
You were
I
his
was
uncle.
talking about.
The elderly uncle.
He didn't
That
say
goes to
elderly,
the
he said
early
old.
bird,
He didn't
early
say
bird
elderly.
special.
I just said his uncle.
An old boy. that guy, yeah.
I wasn't trying to be, hey, man, I respect my elders, man. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. That's
I do.
good. That's
By the way,
good.
Cantab
Sorry.
Brownie, so if you're insecure about this, is seeing you Saturday in Portland. Loves your comedy. Can't wait.
Word.
That's
That's what's up.
Sheila's
buddy.
pretty fond of you. What were you going to say?
Yeah, boy. I just did a
Exactly.
John Witherspoon. Yeah, buddy. Get the D. That's all I wanted to do. Go ahead.
And by the way, here's the deal. Saturday, that's tomorrow.
Yeah.
You're somewhere tonight?
Yeah.
Where is that again?
I'm at the Seabrook. I'm at the
in New Hampshire.
Brook Casino. Yeah.
Oh, it's sold
Master
out.
Brook.
That's why we're not telling everybody.
It's sold
about that.
out.
It's sold
Oh,
out.
okay, cool.
Tomorrow, you're at the Aura, A-U-R-A. That's in Portland, Maine.
Yeah.
You know that?
Yep. That's what I told you that.
Okay,
man.
fine. Monday, you're in the Criterion Theater. Do you know where that
Sunday.
is?
Sunday, I'm in the Criterion.
Sunday?
That's here. That's
Oh, it
here.
is Sunday.
It's great theater,
No, it's
too.
not here. It's in
not
Bar
here.
Harbor,
It's in
Maine.
Bar Harbor, Maine.
Oh,
It's
Bar
in
Harbor,
Maine.
Maine.
It's two days in Maine. Okay.
I thought it was in Waltham.
I think it's in Maine.
Hey man, I'm on the road damn near every day. Okay,
Really?
so yes, I live in hotels. My blood type is room service.
So you just did it. You just did an awesome Trump. Anything
Yeah.
else you're introducing this time around that anybody new on the
Man,
horizon?
y'all just gotta listen. I got over 200 impressions, so
You
y'all
have
just gotta.
200 impressions.
Yeah. I got over 200. That's why when people have these GOAT talks, they're doing comparisons of people who do impressions of who's the best. I look at them and I laugh. I just laugh. It's funny to me.
But it's a lot of work.
It is.
Yeah, you have to practice them every day.
Yeah, practice them every day, and then have to not have to sacrifice your identity for other people's
That's
identity.
right.
You know
That's
what I'm
right.
saying?
You could turn into someone you do an impression of. That would
Can
be
I ask you
unfortunate.
one last question before you
What's
go?
that?
What time should Marjorie be at your hotel? I mean, that's...
She's
Marjorie's
proud.
watching. You were looking at this guy.
Because he's a big
it's
star.
insane.
He's a big star. He's a nice-looking man.
It's
He's a big star. He
insane.
said I
Thank you
look
so
like
much.
Nicole Kidman.
Thank you so much.
Nobody's told me that ever
He's turning
before,
red
so-
now, too, by the way.
Yeah,
That's right. You can
Okay.
see. You can see me. I'm turning. My cheeks are getting purple.
Exactly. Hey, Joe Farrow, we're big fans of yours. It's great to see you again.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much
Thank
for your
you.
time.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Great
Yeah.
show,
Thank you,
Farrow.
guys.
Big thrill to meet you. Comedian, actor, impressionist.
By the way, you're not
SNL
meeting him.
alum.
He was on our show 3 years ago.
But I don't think you were there in person, though. Were you on Zoom 3 years
He
ago?
was
Were you-
there.
You were there in person?
I was here. I
You
was
didn't tell
here.
me I look like Nicole Kidman.
That's exactly
No,
why you
I mean,
forgot.
Nah, but
She's
hey,
aging well. I know.
Okay.
That's right.
Jay
Okay,
Farrow
fine.
has 2 shows coming up at the start of 2024. One at the Wilbur Theater, Friday, January 19th. Another at Foxwoods on the 20th. Tickets just opened up today. To get more info and book your seats, go to jfarrowworld.com. That's jfarrowworld.com. By the way, PHAROAH world.com. Also,
And, you're going to say Portland?
also at thewilbur.com.
And Portland on Saturday and Bar Harbor on Sunday.
yes.
That's it.
Thank you very much, Jay
Thank you for
Farrow, for
having
coming
me.
in. It's
Thank
a
you all
big
for
thrill.
coming. We appreciate it.
And thank you all for listening to another edition of Boston Public Radio. Tune in Monday. Jim and I are going to be on vacation next week, but Jared Bowen and Andrea Cabral will be in for us. They'll talk with GBH's Tori Bedford about Mass and Cass, plus Charlie Sennett on from the Ground Truth Project, inaugural poet Richard Blanco, the Reverends Ira Monroe and Emma G. Price III, plus live music in Studio 3, courtesy of Club Passim Folk Collective members Anju and Gabriella Simpkins. We want to thank our crew, Zoe Matthews, Aidan Conley, Nicole Garcia, Hannah Loss. Our engineer is John the Claw Parker. Our executive producer is Jenny Bologna. Special thanks to the BPL team, Colin Cockrell, Evelyn Brito, Matthew Glover, and Sandra Lopez Burke. I am Marjorie Egan.
I am Jim Browdy.
Thanks so much for tuning in. We hope you can tune in again on Monday.
You want to say
Have a
something?
great weekend.
Thank you. Go to Corral because we all gonna be there.
That's
about-
right.
You are brutal. Brutal.
That is right. Glad
see
to be
him
there
anyway.
too. Thank you.
See you later.